Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. We'll get started in just one moment. Hey, everyone. My name is Dr. Crystal Richardson, and we are here at Life Innovation Global TV. We have a live studio audience. It's an intimate audience today because we have a very, very special guest that's going to be joining us in just a few moments. This is an episode of The World Speaks, and this particular one is one that I just love. It's called Women of Impact Speaks. So for those who are in the studio audience, let's just give a hand to our guest that we haven't even introduced yet, but let's give her a hand. Awesome. A very enthusiastic crowd that we have here. Women are so important, and sometimes they just don't know how important. There are a lot of statistics that talk about anxiety, depression, and overwhelm is something that I've been hearing lately from a lot of women, even a few that missed their flights to get here in Phoenix, Arizona for some of the things that we'll be doing this week. But I want to tell you that this woman that we are going to introduce today, she's going to be on in just a few moments. She's also here for the Women of Impact and Innovation International Summit. This is our Lead, Lift, Love Summit. And she came in early. So I'm like, why don't I get in touch with Erin at E360 TV and have her we do a special specifically for her. There's also several other women here, some local, some that flew in, that have stated that they want to give a few words at the end of this show as well. So I cannot wait for you to hear Dr. Forbes Riley. Who else do we know that's made over 2.5 billion or so on QVC? Like who? Or not just on QVC, she's constantly making money like every day, every week, every second, I think. But the thing is that she's had so much impact in the world. She's known as the pitch queen, and she's known as a lot of things to a number of us that just love her dearly. She and I have been friends for a number of years in relation to, depending on which camera you may be looking at when we give out the information on how you can watch the film version of this. There is a book behind me that is the One Habit book. There were a number of authors that have been involved in that with Steve Sambliss. He's no longer with us, but we just praise God and just thank God for his life and his legacy. And we'll be talking a little bit about that when we talk about the word impact. Everybody in the studio audience, say impact. Impact. All right, we can do a little bit better than that. Everybody say impact. Impact. Yes, and this is Women of Impact Speaks. So we're just going to watch that commercial one more time because that is really in relation to the summit that's happening this weekend. It's the Lead, Lift, Love Summit with Women of Impact and Innovation International. We'll play that, and after we get back, you will then hear from Dr. Forbes Riley. We'll be right back. everyone, and welcome to LIG TV. This is The World Speaks, and this particular episode is Women of Impact Speaks. Let's give it up for Dr. Forbes Riley. It's kind of cool having a live studio audience.
I love
right?
it. But yes, it reminds me of my theater days. I appreciate it. I lived for applause for a long time.
Yes. Well, I attempted to just give a little bit of your history and introduce you. And I know you heard. I saw you standing right back there. So what is it that you feel is the main thing that you want people to know about Forbes Riley?
She's one gorgeous, badass bitch. No, that's not true.
Interview over everyone.
That she is wildly disruptive. I'll tell you what, I think that's the thing that I want to know is that I never settled for second best. And I never settled for what people's opinion of me was. And I never settled for all the limitations and all the stuff that I went through in life. And so when you start to list out tragedies, and I've been doing this a little bit lately, I have a whole lot of them, but I'm still here. So you can choose to let life define you, or you can step up and take the bull by the horns. And I've certainly chosen to do that long before I even realized it was a thing.
Right.
And I just did it again. And it's funny, I did it in a bigger way than I've ever done before. If you go to my Instagram, which I highly recommend you all do, just because I tend to post some fun things. 5 months ago, I was in a really bad accident. And I was in Iceland with my kids. They were 21 years old and my husband. And we're in a tour bus. And I grew up believing or wanting to be James Bond. Didn't want to be a Bond girl, wanted to be Bond. And someone who led an action-packed, crazy, amazing life. And I had none of that. I grew up with no money in a very small little house, but had really big dreams. And we come back, we're in a tour bus, 16 of us, and we hit a patch of ice. The next thing I know, this bus is flying through the air, not in a good Harry Potter moment. And boom, we crashed on the street, right on my face. And there's a funny thing that happened. I opened my eyes, there's glass everywhere, my cheek is on the street, and I didn't cut my face. I didn't lose my eye, I didn't dent my head or crack my brain, which could have all easily happened. And I walked away from that, I tore my shoulder, but I walked away from that moment feeling a little like I was playing with the dealer's hand, like a little bit like borrowed time.
Right.
And my husband, who's a bodybuilder, just said in passing, he said, I have to enter this competition in our hometown in St. Pete so I can qualify for Mr. Olympia. And there's a category for women over 60. And I said, that's nice. I have worn a bikini since I was 15 years old. And even though I'm in the National Fitness Hall of Fame, I used to joke that I'm the least fit person in the National Fitness Hall of Fame. I don't spend time in the gym. I used to be a dancer, but at 60 at some point, you're like, whatever, right? And then I took a before photo and I looked at my picture and I thought, who's that old lady in that little underwear there? I got really sad for a moment, which is my style, and said, you know what? I'm going to enter a bodybuilding competition. And my other side said to me, like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard you say. I'm like, no, shut up. I'm like, okay, guys. And I literally said, you do this on Instagram. I said to the world, I said, I've got 99 days to get my butt in shape, to find a bikini, to understand what it means. I've been walking high heels when COVID hit. And all of a sudden, 99 days later, I have pictures that we should somehow edit in here. Or you go to my Instagram and see this chick in a bikini, because I did it.
You look amazing.
And it's astounding. I look at those photos and I'm so proud of her. Does that make sense?
And I like what Josh said about how short of a time period it was, because he was pumping you up the whole time.
Oh, no. Okay, let me set the record straight, okay, for everybody here.
That's what it looked like that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I made it look like, yeah. I love my husband. He's a very fit bodybuilder. He has no problem going to the gym. When I said to him, do you think I can do this? His reaction was, yeah. What part of, he's like, I know what he's saying. He's like, you're going to do this for a week, but work's going to take over. You don't have time to go to the gym. That's what you said for 5 years. How are you going to have time to be a bodybuilder? And I got that sense. And I don't know about you guys, but I hear the word no and I hear go.
Right.
And there were mornings at 5 a.m. in the gym where I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong, you son of a gun. Just because he didn't think I could. And sometimes that's enough of a reason. You either go towards pleasure or away from pain. And I said, I'm out to prove it, not only to myself, but to really prove it to the man that I love, that I'm more than he ever imagined. Because he didn't know me in my heyday, in my 30s and 40s, when I was like, I just went everywhere, I did so much. I slowed down a little bit. And I'm like, I'm going to show you who you love.
It was the tone. It wasn't what he said necessarily. It was the tone.
No, he loved it. Don't get me wrong. I found my Prince Charming. This is another thing. You know what? I'm going to stick a stake in the sand and say I've decided to be every woman's role model. Why? And by the way, I could never say this before. So much came out of this competition that just gave me back a sense of self-esteem, because I had certainly lost my way a little bit. Because as you get older, and I'm living with a man who's 17 years younger than you,
There was a little bit of pre-show conversation about younger men.
Well,
okay, I just want you to know.
Well, but let me tell you something. It's not really nice when you walk into a restaurant, you go somewhere and say, "Oh, so when you're here with your son?" I'm like, "Huh? I don't sleep with my son. That's my husband." And I'm really kind of rude about it, because it's like it just feels bad, so I let that get to me a little bit. So I'm enjoying this part of it, but he's incredibly supportive, and to find somebody at 57 years old who loves you unconditionally. Is that a dream? Is that what, unfortunately, I hate Disney. Absolutely, we should all hate Disney. Disney, when I grew up, said that you had to have a tiny little waist, long light hair, except for Snow White had dark hair. All the stepmothers are evil, and all the moms are dead. Dumbo and Bambi, think about it. So not a good role. And then we wait for someone to save us. Come, Prince Charming on a white horse, gallop in and save me. And for so long, I thought that was real. And the funny thing is, I manifested it. I had a guy come in and actually not save me, but be my Prince Charming, because I decided that I wanted it.
That's awesome.
I also decided I deserved it. That's a big thing for people to say, I deserve happiness. I'm worthwhile enough, and I matter enough. And since I was little, I always wanted to matter. And you know what's funny about that? Because before Facebook came out, I did all of these accomplishments. I have a long list like my arm, from hosting and starting the X Games to being a leader in cable television to infomercials. I have a lot of accolades, right? But there was no social media. I don't know if you guys can remember a time before that, so no one knew what I was doing.
Right.
And I thought, when I die, because my parents are gone, I have no other family, no aunts and uncles, no one's going to even know I was here. And that's one reason I had kids. And when Facebook hit, people wrote me notes on my birthday. Hundreds of them. Remember that first time Facebook said happy birthday and it's like, oh. So when you leave the planet, at least some people will know and they'll celebrate and go. And then I set out to say, I'm going to impact as many people as I can along the way, because I want a really big party.
Speaking of big parties,
yes.
That's part of the reason why you're here.
Yes.
To celebrate. So I want to just do a little bit of recap, studio audience. Are you ready to yell at the top of your lungs these words? Okay.
Wow.
So she said the word disrupt, and that's actually, now it's lead, love, lift, but previously it was think, disrupt, lead. Everybody say disrupt.
Disrupt!
You can do better than that. Everybody say disrupt.
Disrupt!
Everybody say you matter.
You matter!
The other things that she mentioned was don't settle.
Don't settle!
Right, you didn't know if you were supposed to say that. So let's try it one more time. Don't settle.
Don't settle!
All right, give yourselves a hand. The other word that she said, which is in our title for Women of Impact and Innovation International, is impact. Impact. You wanted to leave an impact, and you want to have massive impact still. You've done so much. You have some students here. There's some that are stuck on planes, trains, and automobiles trying to get here to see you, not just today, but at the summit as well over the next several days. But impact is so important. Why is that important to you?
Well, I'll tell you what, it wasn't for a very long time. I was very happy being an actress. I'm a little bit of an introvert, which people look at me and go, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm very happy to sit home and not go out and do parties. In fact, I remember the first Friday night of COVID. I don't know if y'all remember it, but I do very clearly, because you couldn't go out. I'm like, yes, nobody can go to a party. This is so cool. Like, it was really impactful for me that you couldn't go out. Mm-hmm. But people look at me now and go, oh, you always had it easy. And I'm like, part of my reason for being now is to show everyone else going, no, there was nothing easy about this journey. I happen to be 64 years old, so I have a lot of time under my belt. But if you find the book that says Life is Fair, I think it's under somebody's bed somewhere, because everyone's like, that's not fair. It's not fair. No, it's not supposed to be fair. And so I just set out well, here's what happened. So I was very happy being an actress, but I think the universe had a different plan for me. And I know exactly the moment that happened too. I had to lead in a television series. That is what I wanted. I was on Broadway, I've been on soap operas, but I also along the way always fought my weight. And that may not seem like a lot to people, but you don't realize how painful this is. I was on Broadway and I was made to go to Overeaters Anonymous. I was on Broadway in a time when if you weren't 15 pounds underweight, you were overweight. So I was 25 pounds over, which made me obese. I look at pictures, I look freaking normal, but not back then. And so it's interesting now that times have changed, that every size is accepted. I just went to a Broadway show and there must have been a 300-pound dancer in the chorus. And I was like, well, I missed the boat. I was like, wow, that's extraordinary that people are accepting bodies in a time when I didn't have any of that. And so I'm the lead in a TV series, and I was really excited that that's what I wanted to do. I love being an actress. It's incredibly selfish. You get to play. You get to be in plays. You get to do movies. People go, Miss Riley, can I get you a coffee? Do you want to sit here? Let's go to an award show. It's a great selfish life. Well, I got the lead. I did the part. They cleared the whole pilot, the country. They sold it. And about 4 months after, I was sitting around waiting for it to start. Fox TV calls me and says, hey, you know what? We're going to give your role to somebody a little more famous because your name doesn't have enough weight to it. I was like, but you liked what I did. I'm sorry, what are you doing? And so they gave the lead role to a woman named Bo Derek. Remember Bo Derek?
I do.
Yeah, this pretty much sums out the intelligence of Hollywood. There's a woman running with her braids, and that's a better My character was very Alexa Carrington. She was a tough witch who ran everything. And so when they gave it to this beautiful blonde, who a very nice woman, the show died. And then I said to them, well, can I have the second lead? Well, that's going to Morgan Fairchild. Again, you look at a stereotypical, and Morgan, don't get mad at me, Barbie doll. And I'm like, wow. And it was at that moment, my agent called me and said, I'm going to let you go. What do you mean let me go? I said, to lead the TV series. I've been fighting for this my whole life. I got it. And he said, you know, you're getting kind of old. I was 43. And Hollywood doesn't like people who are older. He said, here's my suggestion to you. You should make enough money if you still want to act and buy your own movie. And I literally looked up at the universe and said, I'm not going to get to act for a while, am I? I'm so pissed at you. We'll talk about this later. And I picked up my 2 babies in California, left my husband for the first time, and moved all the way out to Florida on my own, rented an apartment, was working on home shopping, and walked around the apartment going, what does that mean to brand? In a time when nobody had any idea what the brand was.
Right.
And then I did something crazy. Well, number one, big mistake. I didn't know to ask for help back then. I don't know how you were raised, but I was somehow raised with the notion that if you asked for help, you were weak. That's unfortunate because that's not the truth. And I struggled a lot on my own. And one day it dawned on me, somebody called me and said, hey, do you know that the Jack LaLanne juicer has now grossed $1 billion in sales around the world? And I'm like, excuse me, I have a percentage of that. Let me go check my bank account. And when I did, I realized that there was a lot of my shows that had hit the $100 million mark and $1 million days on HSN, because we took all that for granted. I added it up. At that time, now about 14 years ago, it came up to $2 billion. Mm-hmm. And that's your brand. You're the $2 billion host. And I set out to build that, but the whole time I didn't really get to act. And I was very sad about that. And my kids have never seen me on stage, which is one of my greatest things to do. And so I took a 21-year hiatus. I've done a couple of movies. I have a new movie coming out next month. I'm very excited about this one.
Is that the Tucson one?
It is the Tucson one. It is an action-packed Western. It's an expendable for martial artists.
Yes.
And I play the bad girl. Right, big stretch there. But I will tell you that a couple of things happened there. The woman who's created that movie wrote and directed, she didn't direct it, but she wrote a role for herself, Cynthia Rothrock, cast her martial arts friends, and said, I'm going to put a project that I want to have out in the world. And I am so blessed to be a part of that. But then the other thing is Forbes, wait, you and martial artists, how does that connect? Well, backtrack 30 years ago, I was in Los Angeles, coming out of a theater late at 11 o'clock at night, and I got mugged by 5 teenagers walking to my car. Well, the next day, I ended up at a dojo, and I started studying Taekwondo. Why I didn't go to the self-defense class before, ladies, you have no idea, especially nowadays. There's a lot of strife with the economy. People will do things out of desperation. So I spent 4 years studying Taekwondo. Then I went on to Aikido. And next thing you know, I'm studying martial arts most of my life. And so who knew that moment back then would be the catalyst for me knowing major film martial artists like Don the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock. And some of my teachers are in the movie. And it's like, it's something that you did. In fact, I talk about this in my pitch training. The worst part of your story is often the best part of your speech or your pitch. And so you asked me earlier about things that matter, or take the pain in your life and make it worthwhile. Make it matter to somebody else. Don't let your pain go wasted.
Let's give that hand. And we might as well say that too. Don't let your pain
go wasted.
Go wasted.
That's right. I like the little head nods that we have going over here. That's so true. That's so true. And there were a number of things that, let's backtrack a little bit in your life as well. When you were younger, you didn't necessarily feel that you were.
Oh, I was butt ass ugly. No, let's get real about this. You want to?
I let her feel that in.
No, because there's a way that you define pretty, especially when you're a little girl. And at least in my head, I believe little girls want to be pretty. And I know
I
that
thought you were pretty on the pictures.
Well, here's the thing. I was 8 years old. I had something wrong with my jaw. I literally in my speeches I show my mouth. My teeth went in 4 different directions. And my mother, kind of a hoarder, Ukrainian, who didn't have a lot growing up, kept the mold of my teeth and kept all my baby teeth. Just so you know, I have a lot of things she kept. But they put braces on me when I was 8 years old, an entire full set of braces, and that's not terrible, except for the rubber bands and the headgear and everything else this guy was experimenting on. But then he put a tongue thruster in my mouth, and that keeps you from talking. And so for 2 years of my life, this is what I sounded like. And nobody could understand a word I said, which means that you're a little lonely. People they're not very patient. And I just kind of became a very book smart person. I didn't want to communicate with people. And as I've come in my later years to understand, the value of that allowed me to go, words are really important. Most of y'all waste them. You just yak. You have no intention. You have no direction, no meaning for saying them. And it really carved out my inspiration for being a wordsmith. And that's my entire career.
Right.
But then I broke my nose. I get hit in the face with a baseball bat, and my nose literally grew off like a triangle. And I can remember year after year lying in bed, just kind of pushing it, hoping that it would just go back. Now, how do I know that that's ugly? Because Marsha Brady, my hero, my blonde hero with the blonde, yes, when she got hit with a football in the face and her nose blew up, she didn't go to the prom because she felt so ugly. So now I'm validated that, in fact, I am ugly. And then when my mom said to me, we have no money for college after my dad spent 3 weeks, he was in the hospital for 3 years. He had a horrible accident. And she looked at me and said, well, but there is a Miss Teenage America pageant auditions, and there's a scholarship to college. And then she looked at my face and said, that's not an option for us. Your mom tells you you're not pretty. It was like, wow. But the crazy thing about this story, and I'm so grateful that I love telling stories, because otherwise it just wouldn't have mattered. And there were so many nights that I cried myself to sleep. Very unhappy, very lonely. I didn't have a lot of friends at all growing up. And so I internalized a lot of things, which ironically became the disruptive me, because I didn't chit chat with other girls. I didn't just talk about boys. I was very intentional. I studied a lot. The other thing I did, which none of you, maybe 1 or 2 out of every 1,000 I've met, has a dad who was a magician, who used to make me stand up and do magic tricks. Do you know what you have to do to get someone to believe in magic when you know it's a trick? You have to do everything I teach in pitching. You have to set the stage. You have to believe it's possible. You have to know what the end is. And then you do it. And I will tell you, that sense of confidence, if you got a dove stuck in your ear, all of a sudden I made a dove appear. Well, it was a very strange little child. So anyway, right? We literally had, well, because I can make all kinds of things happen. And people are like, and by the way, there was a TV show. It was a TV show that Bill Bixby did. Maybe you guys remember, called The Magician. That was my Bible. I love that. I'm going to grow up and like marry David Copperfield. We're going to be a team. And so I wanted. That's really weird when everyone else is like, well, I like David Cassidy. I like David Copperfield. And so when my dad's doctor turned to my mom in the hospital room, and this is what I talk about in terms of dream it, believe it, and achieve it. We had a dream. I had a dream that I was just going to be more than I was. I think that's a universal dream. At some point, everyone would like to be a little bit more. I don't know how it is now watching social media thinking, well, I don't get to be a millionaire when I'm 12. But back then, you at least saw movies. You knew things were a little different than you were achieving. And I'm like, I can figure this out somehow. Then we spoke about it. One of the problems with having a dream is that you internalize it. You don't speak it out loud. That's the dreaming, the believe it part. And so we said this thing out loud about the beauty pageant, and my dad's doctor overheard the conversation, turned to my mother in 1975 and said, we're going to fix your daughter's nose. It was really that badly broken. I kind of couldn't breathe very well, with deviated, whatever it was. And a couple of days later, this crazy little miracle happened. I woke up, I looked in the mirror, and there was a really cute girl looking back. I'd never seen her before. And she talked to me, and she said, we can do this. We can do what? Well, we're going to college. And I don't know where the we thing is. I'm going to sound like I'm a schizo, but we are going to college. And I've had my best friend in my head my whole life. And especially at that moment, there was 2 very different people in my head. One who believed she could do it, but she didn't have any of the accoutrements. She was never going to be anything if she didn't make some change. And then this new version of me who's like, we can do this. And they kind of got together and said, all right, I got a hand-me-down bridesmaid's dress. I entered this competition, and I can very clearly remember the conversation in my head as I'm looking down at the judges. My parents are back there, and there's a lot of other cute girls there, but none of them had a dad who had a bandage on his hand, who wasn't sure if he was going to be able to feed his family. And I said, I didn't say it out loud, but I said, I am doing this for that guy because he deserves to win. And everything changed when they let me be Miss Teenage New York. Who knew? I mean, and it's funny because even as a teenager, I wanted to be on TV so bad. How do you get on TV? I don't know. I didn't have a momager like Kim Kardashian. I ended up on a game show. I was on the $20,000 pyramid at 18 years old. And the crazy thing about life, YouTube, you can watch all of my stuff on YouTube. You can see the 1977 Miss Teenage America pageant on YouTube. It's really weird. But when you see this 18-year-old work with Dick Cavett and Dick Clark, and she's sassy, she's smart, she's not giving up. And then something really bad happens at the end of the episode with Joanne Worley. And I love you, Joanne, but every time I see her, I tell her, you screwed up for me. But again, for me, every time there's been something bad, that's where the good stuff comes out. So here's another one you could repeat. Life happens what? For you, not to you. Mm-hmm. When you own that statement, everything changes. You celebrate the good and you celebrate the bad.
Well, let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Life happens.
Life happens.
What does it happen
for
you, not
to you.
Very good, very good. You mentioned a few things, and part of all of this had to do with me. The reason why I brought that up was in relation to the word confidence. Not maybe having specific confidence in yourself before you won the pageant. Did you have any confidence in yourself at all? That you were worth being around in the world?
What does the word confidence mean?
What does confidence mean?
Yeah.
To me, it means that you are basically, what would I say? You are you're good with yourself. Like you admire yourself. You don't care what other people think.
Nobody is that confident. This is a myth. Everyone else thinks everyone else is confident. You ever see Beyonce throws up before she goes out on stage? She can sing, dance, and is beautiful. Is that confidence or lack of confidence? I got to tell you, we all think that everyone else has got it real easy.
Throwing up doesn't mean that you're not confident.
No. I know. I got that. But we all have this myth that someone else that doesn't feel the butterflies. Mm-hmm. Feel the fear and do it anyway is confidence. Because you never get over some of that. When you meet your idols or you're getting for a big moment, when you're at a big shoot, you're on a red carpet, it's always that kind of feeling. But if you believe in your mission bigger than that, you don't stop to worry if you're confident or not. So I used to say this in terms of acting. People would say to me, oh, I've got terrible stage fright. And I would go, well, then you're not an actor. So what does that mean? Well, because when I walk on stage as an actress, I'm not walking on a stage. I'm walking into a scene to have a conversation with you. And I'm not thinking about that there's people out there because that would make me nervous, right? So, well, Forbes, how does that work if you're giving a speech, you're sitting here? Backstage, I'm thinking, I have a mission. My mission is to impact people, to tell great stories, to honor my host, who's, by the way, a really good listener. Give me 5 here. I've never seen anybody do what you do, be able to pull words out of it, because they usually don't listen. They usually are thinking about what they want to say next. So kudos to you. And so there's nothing to be nervous about. In fact, I take it as a great opportunity and a blessing that anyone is interested in listening to me. I know I've got great stories. I can tell stories for days. And so what are you nervous about? People are judging you? You care, but at some point you have to stop caring. They will judge you, and so what? I mean, look what they're doing to Julia Roberts right now.
It's ridiculous.
Julia posted a picture of herself without makeup playing cards with her niece. No makeup. I wake up that way too. Sometimes it's like, whoa, really, Forbes? And people on the internet are feeling it's okay to make a jab saying you look old, you look like a man, the woman's got feelings. Why would you do that? So it's an interesting thing that you just do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And part of the reason why I said that you don't care what people think, because it does go back to the word fear. And we're going to be talking about the word fear in the summit because everybody has a different way of defining that. And I'm not going to necessarily give my definition today, but it at some point in our life, we do really have to go beyond caring what people think. So that's why I said part of the definition to confidence is not caring what other people think, because it is the doing it anyway portion. If I'm also an introvert, you're saying you're an introvert or was an introvert, however you want to say you were.
And introvertal tendencies.
Yeah. And people like all the different things that you've done and all the different countries and all in this, on the camera and this and that. Like, you're an introvert. It's like, yes, because I could just as easy be at home, writing books and writing music, doing all the things, dancing by myself, like all the different things. But God has a bigger purpose for me than that. It's leading people into their destinies, the same as yourself in different ways. And so caring, being people pleasers and caring what people think is a big hindrance to people's confidence and self-esteem.
Well, I think you're all screwed if you graduated high school. So seriously, that just messes everybody up. Number one, it teaches you to do this. Can I have permission to go to the bathroom? Can I have permission to do this? You don't need to be asking permission. You take tests because you memorize stuff, not because you have to think.
Right.
The cool kids were all sitting over there, so you feel like an outcast. Anybody a part of the cool kids? Because if you were a cool kid, you peak too soon, and life will suck for you. So it doesn't much matter. And so seriously, I was not at the cool table. I'm good. I was a dork, and I've been working to make up for it ever since. Didn't get on the cheerleading squad. I can't imagine if I was cute in high school, I would be nobody now. And it's funny because I proved that point. I actually went back to my high school. We have a page on Facebook, and there were two girls that I idolized, like in that weird kind of teenage idolized. Right. They were both singers. One was this sexy, beautiful alto. The other was the soprano. They got the lead in every single musical. I got the chorus. I was nobody back then. And I took them out to dinner. One teaches yoga, the other teaches singing. And I value them. They're both beautiful, and I still think I just adore them. But I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to go and give every high school kid what I learned because of that? Be weird, be the outcast, enjoy it, take your time, and don't be the one who fit in, don't be the one who excelled, because that isn't the height of your life. The height of your life is the journey that you're on, and the obstacles you overcome, and the story you tell at the very end. The weird thing is, you don't get the prize. I don't know how to explain this. I've won lots of prizes in my life. I've gotten some from you, trophies and awards. And you get up and you get to give speeches. By the way, that's why I love speaking. The first time I ever got to speak in public was winning an award. And I loved that. And I was like, I want to do that more. So I set out to win a lot of awards so I could get to speak, until I realized you could just be a speaker. It's a lot less. I know, right? But I didn't have a lot of role models. The kids now have so much access to information. You can YouTube anything. In the old days, we had to actually do our research and figure these things out. So I came up with systems and processes for all kinds of things. And I love what I created. I just think that the problem is that you'll get that award, and you'll make that little speech, and then what? Because I got to tell you, for every high, there's a freaking low. And I very clearly remember, and I wish the reality camera had been following me, I won one of the biggest infomercial awards you could have gotten, wearing a dress that I was sewn into, the skinniest I've ever been. But my ex and I were not getting along, so I was in Vegas all by myself, got the award, did a little party, and then by 11:30, I was like, what do I do now with myself? Because I had nothing to do. I took my award in my gorgeous dress, and I sat down in the slot machine, and I had a pity party. You had a pity party on the night you won the biggest award you'd ever won? What is wrong with this? And I realized that moment that I needed to make some changes in my life. I needed to respect me a little bit more. I needed to have a bigger circle of friends. I needed to leave that relationship. There were a lot of things that moment, that night, changed for me, because I just couldn't believe it. But everyone wants to win that award. Well, the next day you still have to go to work, or you still have to look for work. That's like if you're winning the Academy Award, you're unemployed the next day. And so it's just interesting, because we all think that there is some grand prize in life. You're married, right? At some point, the wedding is spectacular. It's gorgeous. The dress is the next morning. You're like, somebody's got to do the laundry. Oh, no, really? And he farts in bed? That's not fair. Well, nobody told me that. I know. So it's like we need to be trained for the journey of life, not just the moments we hope we all get.
Yeah, and part of that, and with that, just talking about childhood, it comes with my own version of loneliness, being bullied and even carrying that into adulthood, where people could not believe, like, what, you, Crystal, you were bullied? Right. Because you can put on a mask and people won't even know that was something that happened in your childhood.
Right.
And it wasn't until I turned 50 that I said the two words, no more, no more. And so no more can a certain personality type talk to me any kind of way, or no more will I allow myself to be in such and such and such situation.
Right.
And it's all about what we allow in our minds and in our actions. And so once I said that, I was able to go beyond that. And part of what you mentioned too with your award at the slot machine was like a no more moment that you're like, well, I need to potentially need to make some changes in my life.
Does it confuse you that we don't offer personal development in school? Like in all that 16 years of first education before you go off on your own, we don't do any personal development. I didn't realize what was possible in life till I went to my very first seminar, which is why I live in that world, because everything changed. You know, you start to clean up the history of your past. No one ever asked me those questions. No one ever asked me, how did your mom feel? And then there were some things that I hid that I never shared that have come out later. And in the work that I do, I've been very blessed because I have probably 5 different buckets, of which I tell people you be very careful because focus is the way that you win. And for the last 5 years, I focused on creating a pitch company. Prior to that, I focused on a fitness company. You cannot do it all at the same time. You can have it all if you live long enough, I guess. But prior to that, it was like I found a way to uncover how our past impacts our future. And I got really sad when I would meet and talk to people. And you talk about being an introvert. One of the problems with life right now is the word I am. We're all self-diagnosing. Well, I'm a procrastinator. I don't know. Really? Congratulations. What does that mean? You're a procrastinator. And why are you wearing it like it's a badge of honor? You should be. I said to somebody the other day, I said, there's no such word as procrastination. Now what? You know what you are? Not a very good prioritizer. I am an introvert. What does that mean? Well, I like to sit at home. Well, can you sit at home and not be an introvert? Can you like to do things? Can we not give it a label? I have ADHD. Well, you know what? In today's day and age with a cell phone over here and a TV here, how can you not
Everybody
be all
has.
right? Where did I put my keys? How can you, your head's like a hard drive. I'm a little overloaded. I need a new plug-in. So, but we all have these things that we say I am. And I think we should stop doing that because you labeling yourself is like an out. Well, congratulations. I have ADHD and I get more done in 1 hour than you can in 1 week.
Right.
It's not a negative thing. Whatever it is that you've got, if you want to own it and talk about it, turn it into a positive instead of stop whining about it. It's one of my many philosophies that I'm listening to. Thank you. Get a lot of applause on me. I'm gonna start doing more of this.
So one of the things that we're going to do in the summit, it's called But Rather.
Talk about our butts?
But rather. No, we're not going to talk about our butts.
What?
Everybody say but rather.
But rather.
Everybody say but rather.
But rather. Not like butt itch or something. But rather. Okay.
So let's do it.
Okay. Yes, we shall do it, but you can't touch it though.
So I've seen it and
whoa, thank you. I've seen yours too. All right,
so it basically has to do with a lot of people where they have negative words, negative connotations in their vocabulary. And so if there's something that you're saying that's negative, don't say that, but rather say something else. So it may not be but rather it's like the proper language of it, but rather than it being this, it's that. So what would be something that you would say that happened in your life that was a negative, that now you can say that it's now a positive?
Oh, everything. Let's see something specific. I was in an automobile accident, but rather it was the catalyst for me changing the rest of my physicality. It's an interesting exercise. I have an improv game we play. Can I play one with you too?
Sure.
It's called Fortunately, Unfortunately. So it's kind of interesting. You'll be the fortunate, okay?
Okay.
So all you would say something about something, make a sentence. Fortunately, what? Fortunately, we're on a TV show together. Start there.
So I'll say, fortunately, we're in Arizona.
Unfortunately, it's hotter than hell here. Fortunately, and keep the story going.
Okay. On the same subject?
Yeah,
or different?
yeah, let's go on the same subject. I'm just gonna.
Fortunately, we are here for the Women's Summit.
Unfortunately, there's no men.
Fortunately, we get dressed up for the gala.
Unfortunately, nobody's really noticing. We're the men.
Okay, so everything's going to be about the man Forbes.
No. But what's interesting about that game for me is that you can look at that same coin,
Right.
and you can continually do that. And it's interesting that people choose not to do that. I don't think people listen to themselves. I've been very fortunate, by the way. Something beautiful happened. And I'm so excited that I get to leave some sort of legacy. And I know that I do. I wanted a baby. When 9/11 hit, 9 of my fireman friends that I grew up with all died in one day. My parents had just passed away prior to that, and it was a very devastating time. And I wanted to have a reason to live. And luckily, I got pregnant with twins, which is an interesting. Some people will say life happens, it's going to happen for a reason. Well, that means to me that there's somebody up there keeping score. Well, I don't believe that. I think it's much more helpful to your soul if you say things happen and you find the reason. You notice the coincidence. You see the signs in life. And I can't explain any of it, and I don't need to explain it. And you can label it anything that you want. You call it God, the universe. But it's fun to notice signs. And I will tell you, life gets more fun when you do that. For example, do you have a number in your life that you see a lot? Yeah. So I do too. Turns out to be the number.
You said it yesterday.
Really? Okay. And mine is the number of the house I grew up on. It's on the clock 2 times a day. And I will tell you, when I'm making a stress decision, I will look at the clock and boom, there it is. It's the number of the classroom that I did my first lead in a movie. And I didn't notice it until many years later. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the number of the classroom. And it just feels like my parents are watching out for me. So whether it's real or not. But for me, so having babies, turns out when the doctor said, you're not only pregnant, you're very pregnant, you're going to have twins. My parents had already passed away. But my mom always told me the story that I was a twin and that she was in a car accident, 5 months old. Her head went through the windshield. She was wearing curlers. She said is the only reason she survived. I was born very prematurely at 4 pounds, and the boy died. I didn't really pay much attention to that. And by the way, if you have a chance to ask your parents questions, I highly recommend doing it because when they're gone, it's really too late. And I thought, that's fascinating. And I'm going to now get this. You want signs? So you don't know what the sexes are. That's okay. But the doctor says to me, they're conceived on March 20th. Well, that's my mother's birthday, the first year after she passed away. Wow. Okay.
That's your sign.
That was a beautiful. Thank you, Mom.
What number was it?
And not right. And then they're due on December 7th, which happens to be my dad's birthday.
Oh.
Wow.
There's an astronomical number that the odds of that are like hitting the lottery. That your twins would be conceived on your birthday and due on your dad's birthday. And it was at that moment that I said to myself, which is funny, I'm going to have the most amazing pregnancy. And I did. And then there was one more sign. I said to my doctor, I said, because I didn't know that gynecologists delivered babies. I don't know where I was thinking. He's like, no, that's one of the cool things I get to do. And then he pointed to a picture that was literally between my legs. He's kind of sitting there going like, oh, right there. And it was triplets. And he said, I hand delivered those triplets. And then I looked a little closer, and they were born on my birthday.
Oh.
There's all the signs that I needed to know that I was going to have them. And I did have the most blessed, amazing pregnancy. I was 42 years old, not a day in the hospital. I was on the cover of a magazine at 8 months pregnant with a giant belly and cute little legs. Pushed the 2 of them out. 2 days later, they came home at 42. You don't hear that story a lot. But I knew that was, now, did I know it was going to happen or did I help make it happen? By the way I ate, by the way I thought. And there was a moment when the nurse, one of the doctors said, you don't do an amnio because you could lose the baby, but nowadays we can do what's called a nuchal-translucent, a little x-ray. So the nurse comes in and said, okay, baby on the bottom is totally fine. He's a boy, blah, 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 blah. And then we don't know anything about the baby on the top. There's an 80% chance that she's Mongol, and I said, as soon as the woman started giving me statistics, I yelled at her and said, get the hell out of here. The doctor comes in going, what's wrong? What, everything okay? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you don't understand. See, in my world, what you put in is what you get out. The baby is either healthy or not, 50-50 chance. It's all I need to know, and either way I'm keeping it. So go away. I don't need a single thought in my head that's not as precious as the ones that I started on day 1 with. And I was very protective of that. I think a lot of you allow people to come in and gnaw at your house like a little termite. They eat away at it. And when the roof starts to fall in, you're like, well, when did that happen? Well, it happened all along, slowly and gradually, because you didn't set boundaries. You didn't stand up for yourself, because somewhere you might not think that you're worth it. You might not think that you are enough. And I'm going to tell you that's where the personal development side of my career as a coach and a teacher, and I am drawn to that. Believe me, the people, my team would love if I didn't do that, because you can only do so many things as a human or as a business owner. But I love doing my breakthroughs, and I love seeing people literally let go of a past trauma, something back there that is physically, emotionally, spiritually keeping them from fulfilling their destiny.
Yeah, and I want to just piggyback related to personal development, being in schools, that they're now including financial literacy, still in some schools, not in all schools. So that's one thing that's come around that is needed more. But also, I have what's called ICE centers, Innovation Centers of Excellence. And one thing that I do with my students, there's a few elite colleges, universities across Kenya. We have classes on Tuesdays. And I do have several of the lessons that I do that are on worksheets. But I said, that's not reality. When you go out into the industry, you sit in a meeting, you have to hear what the people said, you have to dissect the information, write down what your action items are, and do them.
Right.
It is not going to be handed to you on a worksheet. So I go over with them the various points and say that this is a key point, that's a key point. Sometimes I don't. And at the end, ask them what the key points were. And we have where we do it in a way that's the same as what happens when you're in a meeting in industry.
Yep.
And so when you think about that kind of concept, what do you think is something else that's missing for our youth today?
Oh my God. First of all, I don't know why
It
we
would
don't
take us.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did an entire
75
show
hours,
dedicated
yeah.
to this, but my first question is, why don't we pay teachers what they're worth? They are educating the young.
Right.
And if we don't, you can meet some of the kids that are not educated as a checkout counter in Walmart who can't add on their own. You're like, did you miss? Wow, why didn't we take the time to teach you? Because I've got a teacher who's trying to pay her rent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, the system is very much broken.
Right.
I don't know why we spent an election year. No one's talking about educating our kids better. That's not anybody's policy. It's not.
Heard it.
No, and you're not going to, which is just bizarre because kids can't vote. So our system is just definitely flawed. But I will tell you, kids may only be 10% of the population, but they're 100% of our future. And if they cannot function for themselves, they don't understand literacy, they don't understand relationships, none of which I was taught in school. I used to go to the ATM machine to figure out how much was in my checking account because I couldn't understand the whole balance sheet. I don't know why we continue to think that that's good enough. But the problem, and I understand it, is that when you no longer have kids in school, you don't care either. And you only have kids in school for a very short period of your entire life. So it breaks my heart. I love educating the youth. I also like teaching people about seeing things that aren't there. Now, and again, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this to the level I'd love to, but I raised a little kid who looked just like you. Much to my parents' chagrin, my parents were Jewish, and Jews are very funny. You're either Jewish or you're not Jewish. That was for everybody. And they didn't like anyone else outside of them. In fact, in my hometown, my little area, it was very white, but it was Italian and Jewish. Pizza, pasta, matzah. Not a very Jewish audience. I had no idea what she said. It's a special bread that we eat once a year. Anyway, the point of that was they did a very impactful experiment. I happened to be part of it. We're 10 years old in 5th grade. And one day we go to school, and all of a sudden, kids who have brown eyes have to stay after school, get extra homework, and kids with green eyes and blue eyes get to go home and get extra credit. Well, wait, I got like Hazel or green? No, I was put with the brown kids. Oh, brown eyes. Glad that I was, because we were treated like poo-poo caca. And all week long, and I was already a little politically active. Like at some point, we had a voting booth, and we were all kind of taught to do these things and care about our country. And I wanted to be a lawyer at some point because I wanted to affect change. Until I realized that the people who really affected change were famous, not elected officials, because nobody could name the congressman in my hometown. Nobody. They didn't know any of them. But everybody knew Jane Fonda. It's like, that's an interesting route to go to become famous so you can have an impact on people. And so at the end of the week, we're all coming to the auditorium, and we're protesting and got signs and how unfair this is. The teachers and the principal's like, so how do y'all feel? Well, he said, guess what? It's 1970. And everybody in our town looks similar, but we have different eyes. Around the rest of the country, there are people who can't change their skin color, and they're being made to feel terrible because they're a different color. And I will tell you, being the one who was prejudiced against in that exercise left a massive imprint on me as a kid. It 2 things. One, and this was the negative one, when I got to college, I was like 20 years old, blue contacts came out. And somewhere in the back of my little pea brain, blue was in fact better. And those are messages that we get given. So maybe white is better.
Right.
And so you get these subtle things that just eat away at your core. And then I ended up in college putting the first black and white acting groups together. Now, why me? It makes no sense, except that experiment left such an impact of why people are not nice to each other based on no reality whatsoever.
What age were you?
10.
10.
And I will tell you, to this day, I still carry that. So I did that, and then when I got Dexter was part of the Little Brother, Big Brother program, and my ex is 6'6", white blonde hair. He's so white we use him in the, at the beach to tan with because he's like the whitest you've ever seen. And here he is walking with a little kid who's as black as your stool, really dark skin, and saying, "That's my brother." And I love watching. Talk about disruptive. Watch people when you say, "Here's my little brother," go nuts. And this was long before, he's gone now 20 years. Because one of the things that happened to Dexter was best man at my wedding. And I taught all the lessons of my life to this kid, some of which he just didn't get. And it's too bad. At one point, my ex-husband's father-in-law, his father was vice president of the Teamsters. He lived on a big hill in Pasadena, very nice big house. And Dexter comes up, he's about 12 years old. He said, "Well, this is where rich people live." I said, "No," he said, "This is where white people live." I said, "This is where green people live." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "That guy's Asian, Puerto Rican, Chinese, black, white. They're all green. It's money. You don't have money, you're not up here. It doesn't care what color your skin is, my friend." And I worked so hard to get him to understand. And I formed a lot of principles because he needed to be taught that it wasn't what he was being told in his neighborhood. It wasn't what he was being told by his schools. It was not what he was being told by the media that was reality. And unfortunately, right after my babies were born, he was walking from a haircut to church. He lived in a neighborhood called South Central, right next door to USC, one of the most exclusive schools you can go to. On a Sunday morning, walking from haircut to church, and a kid who didn't have me, didn't have a mentor, didn't have somebody guiding him, was working on getting in a gang, walked up behind my boy and shot him 10 times in the back and left him for dead. Did nothing wrong. And now here's the crazy thing about that. Why is that part of my life story? For 3 years, we sought to find this kid. And crazy enough, we did. He's spending 52 years to life in jail. Which, again, is also really sad because it's not really his fault. He already had 2 kids by 2 different rather skanky women. They're growing up. What do they think about their dad being in jail? It lends a generational cycle that's really sad.
Cycle. I was about to say, yeah.
So who am I that I got to see that story? Because I don't know many people who can feel something outside of themselves. And now, obviously, there's a whole lot of angry stuff going on. I don't know why I was privy to that. I don't know why I was privy, this is interesting, to the Las Vegas shooting. Because October 1st is coming up. And this is a tough day for me. My beautiful man, Joshua, and I had just gotten together. We're at Mandalay Bay. And we went to a Grant Cardone event, which turned into me speaking at 10X. And Grant said to me and Joshua, "Do you want to come downstairs and play poker?" It was like 9:45. I said, "No, I want to walk out to that balcony and take a picture of my beautiful," who just asked me to marry him, right outside on the strip. And as we walk out on the balcony, we hear pop, 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 pop. And we're looking for where the fireworks is because there's a country music concert down there. And why are all those people running? What's going on? And everything that happened that night is on my iPhone because I was filming it all. We were then locked down for 11 hours and went through that entire bizarre. I mean, if you want to go to YouTube and go Forbes Riley in Las Vegas, you'll see that I spent the next 2 weeks there giving interviews. What am I doing there? So I do feel on some level that we are all chosen for whatever it is that we're doing. And if you step into that and embrace that, and I'm going to tell you, mine's a pretty big ask because I don't know many people who've witnessed quite as many tragedies as I have and walked away and said, and keep going as though I can tell the stories because I've done the healing work as much as I can. And then the people that I've lost in my life and things that have happened, but I don't choose to think, I choose to use that as fuel to get the message of resilience forward.
And resilience is one of our words.
Did I get all the words right? I feel like who's old enough? Groucho Marx, the word is resilience.
It's as if we talked about, seriously, Forbes, it's as if we've talked about all of the different behind the scenes things for the summit because you're pulling out words that are key and privy to what we're going to be talking about this weekend. That's great.
Sisters.
So speaking of sisters,
Yes.
and this was the next topic, let's talk a little bit about how we met. Do you even remember?
Well, I mean, when you mentioned Steve, I had an
It was before Steve.
It was, put me on the spot.
You stalked me.
I did?
Yes.
She is cute. She's cute.
We both spoke at the same event
Which one was it? Tell me.
with Allison in California.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And then
Yes,
you're
yes,
like,
yes.
hey,
Yes.
I've seen you like all these different places. We have a lot of same friends. Who are you?
Is that her best Forbes Riley? Is that how I sound?
And it was in the text. It wasn't.
Well,
That's how I read
I think
it.
you
I'm like,
interpreted
who
that.
is this person?
Emoji, and a flower. Well, because you're pretty,
Let's be friends.
well, you're pretty spectacular. I don't say that to very many people ever. So you feel very honored right now?
I do.
We
That B Forbes Riley would like stalk me and find me to be friends with.
Well,
me.
but I do that. You know, I think that's the coolest thing about the internet.
Yeah.
Is that for someone who doesn't, you can identify somebody and go, wow, it's like internet dating. You know, you can see so much about them going, I'd like to know that person, as opposed to just meeting them at an event and going, oh, she's cute, I want to talk to her. So yes, you feel very honored. And I feel honored that you came back at that. And then you mentioned Steve, you know.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Just a little.
You know, you have the book in the back, by the way.
And over there, and there's one right here so that it's in the screen of that camera.
Oh, wow.
There's one of them, but the entrepreneurial book is there.
My goodness.
Is the big one back there?
Yep, it is. What a strange, you know, I don't even, yeah, you start.
So there's a book series that's called One Habit. Everybody say One Habit.
One habit.
And there's various types of one habits that we all are a part of. Like one habit can change our destiny. One habit can change someone else's destiny, and being able to share our one habit in various forms was how Forbes and I came together. So Linda Sunshine West, that will be here tomorrow, hers was one habit for women action takers. So one habit for the most successful women in the world, or something like that. And then there was one of the ones that we were in related to one habit for entrepreneurs. It's like the biggest, it was in the
820
Guinness Book of World Records, with lots of actors, actresses.
So what,
there
and
were-
I'll give a little backstory on that.
Yeah,
So what's interesting about, so what I've come to learn about business that nobody taught me. I wish I'd gotten an MBA. I think that might have helped, who knows. But one of the things that is that in every company, in every organization, at the very top of it are two people. And if it's the same person, it's very challenging. One is usually a visionary, the other is an implementer.
Mhm.
And you really should decide which one you are. And it will really serve you better if you can find your other half.
Right.
If you're a visionary and you always working on, you probably don't have great systems, you don't have great processes, you get very frustrated. If you're very good at implementation, you should find somebody who's got a big picture and align with them. That would be my hope for people. I was very blessed that my daughter grew up and ended up being my implementer. And I will share that story. I'm not sure if I should share that story first, but don't let me forget, because that's how I'm here today. She just took me in the last 4 years. We built a very nice sized company. She's the implementer, I'm the visionary, and we support each other. Amazing. So I love writing. I love the idea of books, but I can never really get the whole book thing. It just eluded me how it got done. And one night, as if by magic, it's 11 o'clock at night, this guy calls, he found me on LinkedIn, his name is Steve. He starts talking to me about this One Habit book series that he wants to do. And I'm like, okay. I go online, he's got a beautiful website, he's very systematized. And I just started my company. And I had a couple of hundred people in my Facebook group, and they were very committed. I do everything very hands-on. I know people's names, I love teaching. And so I felt very connected to the people in my group. And he said, I do these series.
Right.
If you want to do your own book, you need to get 100 authors. And I said, do you have a book series called One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success? Literally just came to me. He said, no, I don't. I said, let's do that. I said, how long does it normally take you to get 100 authors? He said, like 3 to 6 months. I said to him, I will have them for you in 24 hours. I just knew I could, because also the price point was I had done my first compilation book. They're expensive. I charged people $2,500. I had like 30 people and I made no money from it. Just to get it printed and edited and done took forever. I'm like $450, and he gave away 10 copies of the books. I said, dude, I could sell that, because remember, I am the queen of pitch. I pride myself on getting you, all of you, to buy anything and everything that I'm selling. And I will prove that if you want me to, that I will outpitch anybody. I have a system and a secret that I do that works, guys. 2.5 billion is not a joke. And most of it was done through a TV camera, because I can make assumptions. I know something about what I know in terms of sensibility, what most people want. And I'm really good at knowing what I want. So in my 30s, I could sell people in their 30s. And I'm better at selling women because I am one. But I've sold everything across the board.
Better at selling women?
Not selling them on the street, no. Sister! No, selling products to women. Guys, I have a fitness product that no one thought was ever going to work. All I have to do is go, everybody raise your arm. Everybody raise your arm up like this, feel the bottom of it, a little wiggly jiggly. I got a product that can fix it like that. Anybody interested in knowing more?
Ooh.
Everyone in the audience just raised their hand. They don't even know what it is. That's how you sell. We didn't talk about the product. This is what I want to, I mean, if you want to go on a whole nother bent at some point about teaching pitch, happy to show you. That's what I do for a living. I'm going to show you how you all need to stop talking about your product or your service and stop telling people what they need. You don't need the noni juice. You don't need the vitamin. You don't need the new fitness product. Get them to want what you have, and you have a sale. Oh my gosh, it's quite revolutionary. So when Steve said this, I'm like, this is what my people want. They want to be in a book. This would be a great thing for everybody.
Right.
I don't have to sell it. I promise. If I present this to people tomorrow morning, 100 people will say yes. Sure enough, they did. Now, as soon as they all said yes, I was pretty jazzed about that. I said, I should go get some of my celebrity friends. The next thing, it was COVID. It was like we were sitting around doing nothing anyway. And I said, who knows famous people? And I had some famous people. Next thing you know, I've got in the same book, I've got the guy who created Pictionary, the guy who created the Ugg boots. I've got the guy who played Hercules. I didn't know him. I got to meet him. A guy whose dad created Motown. Guys, there's a whole lot of celebrities in the book. And while I was there, I put both my kids in it and my husband. I said, let's all get in this book. 820 pages. The cool thing about Steve was as soon as I got the authors and got them to do this, he was a machine. He just organized it. Then what happened, as if by the universe, I was doing all these celebrities as interviews on Zoom, and I didn't want to edit them. I was like, oh. And I said, does anybody want to help me? This woman named Barb reached out and said, I'll do it for you. Next thing I know, she's edited all of them. 3 months later, the book is done. With that, Steve says to me, hey, do you want to do a book called How to Thrive in a Post-COVID World? I said, you want to get 100 authors? He said, yep. I said, give me 12 hours. Now, here's the crazy thing about how fast he could implement our ideas. And Barb, we said yes. And 18 days later, I had a book in my hand. That is the definition of an implementer. And then we did events. I mean, we did Steve was just a wonderful, I was so jazzed by all of this. And then sadly, he got COVID, disappeared for a couple of weeks, ended up in the hospital, and then he was gone. And it was all over. And his family wanted nothing to do with it. And he never, I just let him keep it all of it on his computer. So when it was gone, we closed the computer and the company died. But you were so instrumental and so helpful. And how many books were you in and what happened?
I think I was maybe in about 4, and I had my personal book, One Habit. Was it One Habit to End Bullying or something? It was a bullying book, and there was a number of them in the pipeline.
Oh my God!
This was a huge endeavor. I was in the entrepreneurial book. I was one of the 24-hour people.
Yep.
And it was just phenomenal. And that particular one, he entered in. Did it win the Guinness Book of World Records for Entrepreneurs?
I don't know if I technically did or not. I don't remember. But I do know that Amazon doesn't print anything bigger than 820 pages. And it was pretty spectacular to get that. We all got, Amazon best-selling authors. It was a beautiful endeavor. And I will tell you, that was a little shocking. That particular loss hit me really hard because I was on a train. We were helping so many people. We had hundreds of authors.
And I think part of the hard hitting of it was the family dynamics too. And we're not going to talk about that.
They just wanted nothing to do with the book or anybody in it.
We weren't able to continue that, and you being one of the main people
it was really
involved, like we could have really just still taken that.
But you know what? That's the universe going, we're going to close that door, and you need to close doors and move on.
Right.
And that's a funny thing too about closing doors and moving on. Divorce is one of those things. People should celebrate divorce like they do weddings. I don't know why you get a wedding shower. When you get divorced, you don't have the toaster and the dishes. That's when you need. Come on, give me some stuff. I've lost half of it. It's all gone. But we don't. So shame on you, got divorced. Rites of passage should all be celebrated. Because, and the other thing too, I'm still best friends with the first 2 guys I was ever with. They're still really close, which is very weird. They both came to my wedding. And that was now like 30, 40 years ago. Why would I do that? Well, because one, I think if you love somebody, that shouldn't die. You don't have to be married. You don't have to stay with them. You don't have to hate them because you're not with them anymore. We like to hurt each other. But can you close a door, say that was a great chapter, and then move on? And I'll tell you, you only really know that when you get to a certain age. Because if there's every 10 years, can be a new chapter. You didn't get mad or sad when high school was over. You closed the door and you moved on. But some people tend to hang on to stuff for so long that their entire life became hanging on to that one negative thing or that thing that happened to them. Close the door and move on. Speaking of moving on, a quick little story I'll just share with you because I'm very much in love with this story. But when COVID hit, again, I I'm in love with a bodybuilder who is a physical specimen. He's 6'2". He looks a lot like Hercules. He's always been just very physically active. And he created a fitness training program about how he builds muscle. And he's an educator, 3D graphic artist, and a very cool guy. When you look at him, though, to a certain point, you're like, genetics, or, or you took juice or something, whatever, people discounted it. Well, January 2nd of 2020, as COVID hadn't hit yet, he was hit on his motorcycle and shattered his body. Shattered his ankle, his back, his ribs, and for 6 months, this beautiful statue of a man sat in a wheelchair and was incredibly depressed and watched the lizards on the outside of my house. And then COVID hit, and it was really traumatic. His name, by the way, if you want to look him up, is Joshua Self, S-E-L-F. And I didn't think that was a real name either when I met him. Really? Myself, self-imposed, self-disciplined, that's a name, Self? Forbes Self. It's like 2 different magazines came together. There is a magazine. I know, right? That's so weird. We had a baby called Cosmopolitan. And now we got the baby, Playboy. What?
Come back.
It's all about glamour. No, sorry, I can do. Anyway, the point was, and I shared with him that I know you hate this story, but he built his body back, and he went on to win titles in Mr. Universe and Mr. Olympia, and he's won a bunch of titles. And he still, by the way, walks with a limp, and it hurts him all the time. And so I watch people just kind of discount, like, dude, you have no idea that guy when he gets up in the night to go to the bathroom cannot physically walk without shoes on. But he still went to the gym and rebuilt his body. So he's definitely my personal hero. And again, if I look at my life as we get to dedicate what we do to help and support other people, because other people go, oh, I hurt myself, I can't do this. I'm not interested in what you can't do. And the truth is, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So don't let me be the one to have to tell you. You get to live your life. So I'm sitting and my TV is kind of dwindled and it's COVID and we're all stuck in the house. And my 2 kids, thank God, had to homeschool. They're 17 years old. They're juniors in high school. And my daughter comes downstairs and this crazy miracle happened. She said, Mom, what are you working on? And I said, nothing. And she said, my mom is doing nothing? Whoa. She said, we should start a business. And I said, no, I'm good. She said, no, you don't understand, Mom. We should start a business. And why would I want to do this? She said, you should teach pitching. You're really good at it. I'm like, I know, I'm great at it, and I can't teach it. She said, no, actually you can. There's a system to what you do. I've been watching you for years, and let me show it to you. Oh, and by the way, Mom, I know I'm young, but you kind of discounted me for a lot of years. She'd already been coding, building websites. Get this, she built the YouTube channel for Joe Theismann, one of my friends. She built Les Brown's something for, she had a bank account that I didn't know about that had 6 figures in it. I'm like, where did this come from? She's like, well, when you didn't think I was doing anything or you took me to a convention or whatever, I was in the back making deals. I'm like, you what? I said, yeah, I've done all of it. You just wouldn't listen to me because I'm like, you're a kid, you're a little girl. What do I think? Oh, she so discounted her. She said, Mom, it's your turn. I'm going to make you $1 million in a year. And I'm like, that's so nice, honey. Oh my God, she got the last laugh on this one. We sat in the room. I didn't know how smart she was. I don't know why. It's funny. And McKenna, if you're watching this, I'm going to be really sad because I shouldn't have. I don't know why I didn't. Because you're such a cute little girl that who knew you could be that smart and that clever. And I should never have underestimated you, but I did. And maybe I'm glad I did because the surprise on the other side of it has been our entire life together. But she would always travel with me. She was my best friend from the time that she was 8 years old because I needed someone. I was all over the world and I was a little lonely. And so we sat in a room and we dissected, and this is interesting for all of you who have something that you do well, but this is probably the greatest gift I can give you. You can monetize whatever it is that you know. How silly could it be? If you've got your grandmother's amazing brownie recipe, I can make you money off that. If you know how to, fix a cat, doesn't matter what you do. There are systems that you can make a lot more money than you realized, and you're not doing them. And so that's what she showed me. And she said, well, Mom, you gave us a great living. You worked really hard, and we had a great life. But if you don't teach what you know, listen to this, if you don't teach what you know, you will have no legacy. And it's funny because I've taken this concept to everybody. The guy who tunes my piano, old guy from Russia. I asked him, I said, so, have you taught what you do? Because he tells stories of working in the opera house and working with Steinways. And this guy's a magician and he's very well known, but he's older. And so he's kind of just doing pianos locally. I said, dude, when you die, all of that knowledge and all of the stories that are going to die with you, do you have any thoughts about this? And so I got him to do a little course when he never thought that was possible. So it's going to outlive him as well. And so we created this pitching thing. Now here's what's funny. I love teaching live. I used to do a lot of that. And so when COVID hit, all of a sudden I had 25 people, couldn't do live, so we did a Zoom. Back then, nobody knew what Zoom was. Remember that, getting on a Zoom? How do I get on Zoom? And then once you did, you're like, oh my God, oh wow, they can see me. I guess I should put some clothes on. It was a very interesting moment when that all happened. I had 25 people in the room. I remember I can sell really well. So I created a $1,000 pitch program, and I was gonna do it live on Zoom. And I sold it that night. And the next morning, I called my daughter, and I said, McKenna, what does this mean? I said, there was 0 in the account yesterday, and today there's 25K. I said, Mom, you made $25,000 last night. I'm like, we did what? She said, everybody in the room bought your program. I'm like, cool. Wow. I did that every week. I found 25 people. And how did I find them? I literally found them on social media. I was reaching out to people, inviting them into this little seminar, this 2-hour training that I was doing called Pitch Secrets. And about 25 people would show up. The end of the month, 1 month, first month in business, we had $100,000 in this account. You know that 9 months later, I parlayed that into $1 million? And to prove it, we've got a little, not that you wouldn't believe me, but if you make $1 million using one funnel, you get what's called a 2 comma club.
Right.
You get a plaque that shows you did that. And so McKenna's thing came true. And we have been in business for the last 4 years. We have 40,000 students.
Let's give a hand. The little phrase I liked, it is not a little phrase because it's actually for real. It's every business needs a kid or something. Wasn't that
one of the things, and it's a book that's been working writing called Every Company Needs a Kid.
Yeah.
Well, so that came out of a very interesting story. I totally, here's the funny thing. We all come to this moment with baggage, whatever that is. McKenna has a massive advantage because she didn't have the baggage that I had. My mom was a bit of a hoarder from the Ukraine who was the daughter of a butcher. She slept on the couch in the living room because they didn't have a very small apartment. And so she had her sensibilities and all of her frustrations. And she was held up at my house at gunpoint when I was 15. So I have all of these problems, these issues, whatever's going on in my life. Plus I was also molested, whatever issues. My daughter, knock on wood, I don't think has those. I've protected her pretty well, I think. And so she's got this interesting leg up. You just asked me, what was the question we were just talking about? I just had a...
Every business.
Every company needs a kid. So it's okay that I didn't really believe her, but she's 8 years old. Get this. I have a fitness product. And the fitness product's on Home Shopping. And I made a long time living on Home Shopping. That means I got to go live in front of 85 million people almost every day. Sometimes with no script, sometimes with no idea what was going to happen. And I made $1 million days. That's just why I moved to Florida, and I'm very, very good at that world. She would come as my sidekick, and at some point she started sitting backstage and going, Mom, you know what? She would take notes. She's like, your models weren't smiling. Your host said this, and I don't think that's going to help you. And you should do this, this, and this. I'm like, huh. Okay, my producer's not saying any of that. So, but you are at 6. Okay. So at 8, we had this little dilemma. My fitness product has a physical product to it, a bag it comes in, a DVD, a booklet, and a little extra cord. It costs me X amount to manufacture that, right? Let's say it costs $8 to manufacture it, and we sell it for whatever we sell it for. Well, when Home Shopping does a 24-hour discount giveaway, like a Groupon special, they lower the price, and they wanted to buy my product for a little less than I was paying for it. That means the more I sold, the less wait a second, the math doesn't work on this. I can't sell the product. And they wanted to order 75,000 of them. And I'm like, it's going to cost me, we're going to lose a lot of money. Why would I do this? And they kind of threatened me, because, well, if you don't do this deal, we don't get to invite you back. And I'm sitting there going, I feel like I'm being pushed into a corner here. And so I asked a couple of my very smart team members and friends going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I didn't even have an answer. I didn't even know what to do. I was so wrapped up. Now, this is your lesson. I was so wrapped up in the minutia of my problem that I couldn't see anything else, right? It wasn't very solution-based. This little girl walks in, and she looks at this, she hears what we're talking about, and she said, Mom, why don't you just take out the neoprene bag? That bag cost me 55 cents a piece. Times 75,000 units is like $48,000 that little girl saved my entire product in our company. Mm-hmm. And I said, every company needs a kid. because she didn't see the same issues.
Now it's in a plastic bag or something. It's another bag now.
Well, no. It's actually, when we did that, I took the bag out and you got it just in plastic.
Right.
And then when they were willing to buy it for a little bit more, we put the bag back.
Right.
Because
Okay.
I love the branding on the bag.
Okay.
But I didn't see that, because you're the coffee in the cup. It's one reason you should invest in mentors and coaches and accountability partners, because you just don't see your own issue. And the problem is you run around in circles thinking you're working on solving your problem, but you're not. You're just creating more noise. Oh, I'm busy. If someone tells you they're busy, they're bullshitting. No, I'm so busy. What are you doing? If you're working,
Do that again.
my inner drama queen.
Everybody say, I'm so busy.
I'm so busy. But I hear it all the time. By the way, that's how did I get to the gym for 2 hours a day? I had no time. I would tell Joshua, guys, I work 18 hours a day. I'm at my computer. I teach 40 to 60 hours live. I'm writing books. I have no time to go to the gym. Until I did. Where did those extra 2 hours come from? Called reprioritizing, because I'm not so busy. And then maybe you put down the cell phone and you don't do the Instagram. Somehow there was like hours go by. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, what's that video? Look at that cat. That cat. What was I doing? And I don't think you realize it. Some of the kids' phones now have this thing, how many hours you spend a day on social media. Newsflash, way too many. And it's okay. It's addictive. You think it's relaxing, but you're not nearly as busy. And I said this years ago, but my daughter's biggest thing is, Mom, you should start listening to your own advice. You're pretty smart, but you just don't listen to yourself. Huh. I know that sounds kind of funny, right? I can teach you to do it, but sometimes I'm not doing it. And I will tell you something else, and I'm just going to honor this little girl because you guys are so wonderful. Thank you for listening to these stories. I do have this vision. I told this to my mom when I was 20 years old. My mom wouldn't really leave the house. And I said to her, I graduated high school, get this, in 3 years with 2 degrees. I was really smart. I also had no sex life. That's how you get through college with 2 degrees in 3 years. You don't have any relationships. And it's not a joke. Didn't party, didn't do all these things. I was there to learn, and it was rather boring, but I got through it. And at 20 years old, I found this book called Europe at $20 a Day by Arthur Frommer. And I said to my mom, I drew a map of Europe. I said, I'm going to start in England, and I'm going to go all the way around this way and come back when I have just the cover. I'm going to tear out all the pages. When I have the cover, I'll come back. That was my game plan. I only had $2,000 total because I just finished starring in my first feature film. I got paid $2,000. And so my mother was like, why are you doing that? And I said, I know you're listening. It's kind of funny. I said something that became the script for my life. I said, Mom, I have this vision that when I'm 83 years old, I'm going to sit around and tell the stories of my life. And they're fantastic stories to my kids and grandkids. And I have nothing to talk about right now. So I'm going to go write the most amazing story anyone's ever lived. And I left. And that's where I'm done.
And how did you go to my next client without me?
Sister.
Well, it's not that you're 73 because it's 83. Because I was going to say 10 years from now, where do you see Forbes?
On this side of the dirt. I can't do that. I feel like I'm 46 years old. Every once in a while, I'll say the number that I am, and it sounds old. You make me very emotional. I have no idea. I didn't know I was going to be here 5 years ago. I have a dream. The dream is to be so well known that I can speak anytime I want, and people like tonight will listen. I think some of the stories I have are really fun to share. I love teaching. I love hearing people and tweaking them. Like, we haven't really done that tonight because we're just talking. But that's one of my pride and joys, is that I can get people to see things in their life faster than anyone I've ever seen. I would like to stay around for a very long time to do that. My personal hero and mentor is a woman named Elaine Lalaine. She was married to Jack for 50 years. Jack LaLanne, for those of you who don't know, you will know next year because Mark Wahlberg is going to play him in a biopic. He is the reason there's a health club in every hotel, on every corner. He is the godfather of fitness. In the early 1940s, he founded one of the very first health clubs, and he just took a lot of arrows, but he had a vision for life. And his whole thing is, if man made it, don't eat it. You know, if it tastes good, spit it out. He had all these isms. He had a TV show for 37 years. And I was lucky enough, in the last part of it, I met him when he was 88, to host the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer. We did $1 billion in sales in 8 years in 80 countries. I feel like I was touched by a legend. So on one side of my life, I had all these tragedies. On the other side, I've hung out with some of the greatest people who have ever walked this planet. And when he passed away at 96 of a heart valve problem, his wife survived him. And I didn't think that she would, because she was his backup. She was the woman behind the empire. And she was always there. She helped raise the kids. And even though they lost a kid that they had together, they just continued on because he found that his mission was bigger than him. What a role model to have in your life, right? Well, Elaine continued on. And it was spectacular because part of her mission is to keep Jack's vision alive. But she's now 98 years old. I went to her as I turned 60 and I was really sad because that's a big number, especially way back when.
It is.
It is. No, but it isn't. How many numbers do you get? You get 60, 70, 80, boom. Maybe you get, but by the way, not a lot of people get that far, but it's a big number. And she looked at me and she's like, so look at the cover of that book. And she was on the cover of this book wearing a leotard and leg warmers. She's like, how old do you think I am in that book? And I'm like, I don't know, 45? She's like, I'm 62. 60s were my best year. Don't screw it up. Okay, God has spoken. Don't screw it up. And then all of a sudden he's like, why am I listening to anybody else's definition of how I feel? Now, if you're not feeling healthy, that's an issue. You definitely feel older when you're sick. Then don't get sick. How do you not get sick? It's really simple. The food that you eat should not come from the store. If man made it, don't eat it. Not funny. Jack said that about 50 years ago. You need to move. At one point I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. Not because of what I ate, actually, because of how I handled my stress. I'm a very highly emotional person, not serving me well. So can you mitigate your own disease? Yeah, but I got to tell you, see that word right there? This country, I'm not saying particularly this country, doesn't want you to be healthy. They don't make any money off you being healthy.
Right.
So you get to take it into your own hands. What are you drinking? What are you eating? Why are you drinking alcohol? Why are you smoking cigarettes? Why? What's the value? Or are you just doing these habits? And I love being that sense of disruptive, going, you know what? I changed everything in my world. All the food that I eat and all the things that I drink and all the things I think are geared towards, I have a mission here for the next 20 years, easily. Well, that's going to take some work. So I've been doing a lot of anti-aging work. I don't know where this next part's going to take me because now I'm looking at what do peptides do? What do stem cells do? What is the science of aging? Without getting nuts. What? Did I miss something?
She'll be speaking.
Good.
later.
Well, good, because we should all be hearing this. We have the technology to live a whole lot longer if we take care of it. Or you can just fall victim to society.
Right.
Because society doesn't really care whether you live or die. You're an ant. And that's the really important thing. You ever step on an anthill, maybe by accident, maybe you just didn't like them, squished the leg. No funeral. Nobody cares. A whole bunch of ants died. Choof, they're dead. Well, we die and everybody makes a whole big deal about it. Well, guess what? Nobody cares about you. In the grand scheme of things, you're an ant. Unless you decide that you're at least an important ant. And there's a lot of, one of the issues on home shopping, whenever I would do a fitness product, we were required by law to say this. Before starting any exercise or diet program, make sure you check with your doctor, which I have to say is one of the biggest loads of bullshit I've ever had to say in my life. Your doctor doesn't know your name. He doesn't care about you. He's got 8 minutes between the next patient. What's wrong with you? Take your blood pressure. Okay, I think that's it. To go see you in 2 months.
Not with me. I have a list of questions and I make sure that they're all answered.
And then he doesn't like you because you're wasting time. But this is really important to understand. He's under the gun. And the other thing too is poor doctors spend 16, 18 years getting educated on top of the education they had. They're pissed off. They've got a lot of debt. They have to do billing. The insurance is not covering things. That's not what your doctor should be worried about. You should be his only priority, and you getting healthy should be the priority, but it's not. So guess what? Wake up call. Be disruptive. You get to take your own health in your own hands if you want to. I talk to so many people who don't get it.
Right.
Joshua's home with his mom right now. His mom eats what she eats. There's no deviating. That's the kind of food that she buys. It's like, I want to buy the cheapest eggs. Well, when you discover what an egg is for real, or go and buy a chicken and discover that eggs don't look like they do in the store, then what does pasteurized really mean? Is it cage-free?
Right.
You don't know. And I will tell you, the more that you get educated, and advice for everybody here, start watching some documentaries.
Right.
They're at least getting some of the messages out there.
Some.
Yeah, just enough to at least spark the conversation.
Right, to get you to think. Right.
But we're not thinking society. Sorry, I could go on and on.
Yeah. And that's good. That's good. And we'll be hearing more from Forbes over the next several days. What I want to talk about right now is another reason why you're here, is what we're doing right now. So let's just give her a hand. For Women of Impact Suites, I believe that you are truly a woman of impact. You were one of our main international Innovology honorees last year, and so it's really great to be able to honor you in that way. And it was at the Women of Impact and Innovation International Summit. So tell me what's in your heart related to our organization and what you felt last year.
Oh my gosh. I don't spend a lot of time with women only. And I had forgotten how much fun we are when it's just us. Nothing against you boys. But when girls get together, there's definitely a shorthand. And it was fun. And I hadn't done that in so long. We got to stay in a house together with everybody. We got to kind of hang out in pajamas, just talk and innovate and be supportive of one another. And I will say that you put together a beautiful group of women. You honored the woman who passed away before she got to be there. That was a very powerful moment for me to, again, realize that you're not given anything. You know, this moment is all you get. The next one is not necessarily guaranteed. And just to keep going. And I made some beautiful friendships there that I hadn't made before. Then going and working with women in the clothing center to give to women less fortunate. You know, I'm proud of myself in that I'm 100% self-made. I never slept with anybody to get ahead. In fact, I used to joke around with my husband that I slept my way to the middle. 2 women got that. The men are like, what did she just say? And then I earned everything I ever did through ingenuity, persistence, and it's weird because I just did. And so when I look at people who are not solution oriented, I'm like, let's just figure this out or find somebody to help you figure this out. And so when I look at people who are less fortunate in whatever reason, I'm like, it's just nice to be able to give back. It felt, and the way you organized it, that's another thing about you, highly organized. The whole way the event went, it just flowed. You attract some beautiful people. You know, I just was hanging out with one of my friends, David Meltzer. By the way, just a little FYI, I have 3 TV series right now. You guys on Amazon Prime, I would love you to look up a thing called 60 Day Hustle. It is a series of 20 entrepreneurs that we put them through the gauntlet. It's very much like an American Idol meets entrepreneurism, and I'm very proud of that. And then 2 other ones that I do called Office Hours and 2-Minute Drill. By the way, 2-Minute Drill, and if you're interested in hearing about any of this, right down below, ask me or find me, because that show, we give out $50,000 prizes, 5 of them every time we're there. And you do it on Zoom with a pitch. You don't even need a really good product. You need a really good pitch. So I love that, and my students are starting to understand that this is real and they can take advantage of it. And so, but David talks about vibrations. And I think that you vibrate very highly. You are not only smart, incredibly diverse, beautiful family, good-looking husband, all of the.
Yes.
I know. I noticed. Well, but I think you know, and it's not to say that people don't have all those things, but because you vibrate a certain way, things are attracted to you. And the more that you put out there, what's the solution for success? 1, get clear on the old bullshit in the back of your head. You got to go in and take and clean out the closet. Because if you do like I used to do, my first apartment in New York City was very small. I am a Taurus. Not that I'm saying, again, who cares? I'm making this up. I'm a Taurus. We don't really know what we are. But a Taurus by nature is kind of a bull in a china shop. At least that's, so I can go into any room and mess it up faster than you can clean it. And you got those Virgos who are like, let me straighten this for her. And I must have a Virgo underneath because the Virgo's like, what are you doing? I'm like, shh, shh. She loves it neat, but she's a mess.
You're here to celebrate my birthday, so you already
I know. Trust me, organized, bull in a china shop. I get it. So my parents would come over to and I just leave things, and I can walk over them. I don't have time for this. I walk over that pile of this, pile of that. My mother used to make fun of me all the time, but I wanted it to be neat. So my parents came over to my little apartment. I would open the closet. I would shove stuff in, close the closet. My place was clean. Well, how many times can you shove stuff in the closet before the closet just bursts open? And the problem is, I knew that stuff was jammed in the closet, and I couldn't find stuff, and it was not. That's your life. If you keep shoving stuff in the back of your head, and you shove it down, and you stick it in places. For me, it popped out in some of my fat. And since I'm bearing all, and I don't know how much time we have, but we have like a week and a half just sitting here.
Right. Right.
One of the things that came out is that a little sexual trauma I apparently hid in the back of my body somewhere. And I was developing a hump back there.
Mhm.
And McKenna and Josh would always make fun of my little hump. We all seen women with humps. I got to tell you, when I lost all this weight, it was 25 pounds, that hump disappeared. And when it left, it brought up some memories about why it was there in the first place. And it was very devastating. If you don't clean out the past trauma and organize that and clean out the closet, you will never fully move forward. And so whether you do it with me or anyone, but all of that healing, we all need to do this. And even if you were the rich kid who had everything in life, and I had this client, are feeling guilty that you don't deserve all the things that you're getting. You're not worthy because why are other people suffering and you're not? That's twisted, right? But that's a trauma, that's an issue. You resent your parents for giving you everything. Oh my God, you can't win. If you had a mom and a dad, you're screwed. It's just kind of how it goes. And then if you went to high school, so the odds are stacked against you. And so if you can organize some of those past things to make them work for you, what you say that you want, life is very wonderful and lighter. So happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's organized. I know. It's why you're so coordinated.
Coordinated. I really appreciate you being here. Really do. Like on a number of levels, and I don't want to start crying. But from the day that I saw the message from you on my phone, and I know you do that to other people, but
Not a lot.
it was like, first of all, I'm like, who is this? Because we talked about this at lunch or dinner, wherever we were. Like, why would someone come to my website, or your website, right? Is what you were saying. And it's because of what you could potentially do for them. But I was also saying, who is she? Like, who is Forbes? And a number of people, there are still people, Forbes, in this world who do not know who you are, believe it or not.
No, well, here's the thing. I very much believe it
Mhm.
because of the decisions that I made. I have done enough television work that I could have been way more famous, but I had 2 babies to raise.
Right.
And that was a huge priority for me. When I look at myself and Tony Robbins, we're the same age. I know Tony's kids, and he traveled away from them a lot. He didn't see them. He's had 3 wives. And you trade. You don't get to have everything in life. There's a bargain. There's trade-offs. And so he got massively successful and famous and dedicated a lot of time and energy to that, to the dismissal of his kids. Not a bad thing. Jarek, his youngest son, not youngest, but is a wonderful person. I wanted to be mom. And so I gave up a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that I could have done because those babies were really, really important to me. And here's the fun thing. I wouldn't have traded that.
Right.
Because at the end of my life, and this is what I remember hearing from one of my parents, no one ever wishes they worked another day in their life. But you do wish that you spent another day with your kids. And so I made enough money that I could travel with them and give them a great life and just really show them what life could be. And I'm grateful for that. They are both 21 years old. I work with both of them. How cool that I raised kids who wanted to be in my life. And I'll tell you something, because of so I'm as famous as I can be, and a lot of people don't know me. My goal now at this age,
Right.
with them behind me and a company that's successful and students that love me, that I love, I have a movement and we're moving forward. And you will all know who I am because I think it's important. And
I see messages pop up, from both of them. They're like really into all of what there's some of your students here, and I'm in a number of the groups, and they help people. Like they're
Yes, they
on
do.
there, like really, really helping. You talk a lot about McKenna, but your son as well. Like he's on there helping people.
Oh, let me
And
share
so-
something with you. McKenna, because of the people in our world, we have people who are 60, 70, and 80 years old coming into their own right now.
Mhm.
And McKenna said to me, because she used to make fun of me, she's like, Mom, how come you can't figure the internet thing out? How hard can it be? Everyone else has figured it out. And she met some of my students. She's like, I'm so sorry, Mom. None of them have figured anything out. In fact, you're pretty good. Because at 60, 70, and 80, we were not born with a cell phone in our hands. This little girl can run around the internet and do things that I'll never get that good because she's had a whole lifetime to do it.
What I want to say though,
Yes.
is that she met them 60, 70, and 80 years old because they have not given up on their life. They're still in student mode in some of your programs.
Oh, absolutely. And and her mission now is to serve. She calls us seasoned. I want to help those seasoned people get over this and have a great life and be on the internet. Well, then my son picked up on all that. And in fact, he's now going to take a gap year because he started a company that literally gets everybody. He has a software program, a software platform, and he's building worlds for people because I could never, when the internet first started, I'm sitting there going, how do you get your pictures into the internet? What do you do? Where do you stick them? I mean, think about how weird that is, right? I can scrapbook and stuff, but this computer, there's no like slot machine for the pictures. Like, oh, the download, what's a download? I know we all know these things, but there's a lot of things that I'm sure you don't know. You know, I can now run around Canva. Can you run around Photoshop? Can you do your social media? Poof, and then all you have the time to do all this stuff, right? Well, it's imperative that if you don't do it, you've got somebody who does it. And I love watching Riker do this because they are both very committed. I mean, after he did his first little webinar, he got his first group of people. He just came to me, he's like, Mom, this is so fulfilling. He said, helping people is just extraordinary. And going back to your thing, when I was an actress, you weren't doing that. One of the greatest joys of my life is my students, is the transition.
You can tell. You can tell.
Oh my God. And I still show up live for things. I love this. If you're willing to learn from me, I'm willing to teach you. I will say something. So McKenna is a very special little girl. She did something. And again, this all contributes to me helping you guys and why I want to do this, because I have been blessed in so many ways. When I was 15 years old, my mother was held up at the house at gunpoint. We had a very small house. My dad had been in the hospital. We didn't have a whole lot, but my parents were the president and vice president of the gun club. They love shooting guns. And in fact, can I just share a little wacko-ness? This is kind of strange. I love telling this story. My dad and mom were really, they had like this crazy aim, like really good at what they did. So one day, my mother holds a quarter over here, and my dad is down the stairs over there with a BB gun, fired at my mother. And imagine being a kid going, exactly what am I looking at here? And he fires the gun, and boom, it hits George Washington right in the ear. She soldered the little BB gun, and that's what she wore around her neck. I don't know exactly what my parents were thinking, but this is the world I grew up in. Yes, very strange. And so at 15, two bad guys came and held up my mom at gun, burst their way into the house, and ransacked our house for 2 hours. They were looking for whatever, who knows. And they didn't kill her. That's the big saving grace. They did traumatize her, and they took all of her jewelry and all of that. Now, we didn't have anything. This is what's so weird. I had one gold locket that had a diamond chip in it with a picture of me and my grandmother. It was going to be my 16th birthday present. They took that. They took all my fake necklaces that were all hanging around my room as a teenager. They just took everything. And so I was kind of scarred about people taking things from you, especially jewelry. So when I got married, my husband would buy me some nice things, and I would immediately put them in the vault, and I would never wear them. He's like, why are you not wearing your jewelry? I'm like, because I can't. I don't know. I know I have it. Thank you. He's like, well, if you don't wear it, what's the point? I'm like, apparently I can't wear it. I can't leave the house wearing it because I have this emotional reaction. She's 8 years old. We're on a cruise with my in-laws. And at the cruise, they dump you off at all these shops. And they're diamond, and my father-in-law makes nice money and loves buying his wife presents. And so he's buying her something. And I could feel as I'm standing there watching this something in the pit of my stomach. This is why if you don't clean out the stuff in your closet, it will come and literally eat at you. My daughter notices this. She said, Mom, do you want something here? And I'm like, I'm fine. You know what FINE stands for? FINE. Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. I'm fine. Can I say that? Yeah, it's not real television. And so she said, can you afford this stuff? And I said to her, baby, I can afford almost everything in this account. It's not the point. I'm fine. And so she said to me, I'm going to buy you a diamond for every year that I'm alive. And I'm like, that's nice. On her 12th birthday, with her own money, 14, she bought me this. It's real. I hadn't gotten a real anything in a long time. She insured it, and it's precious and it's beautiful, and she was so excited about it. And then 2 years later, when she started to make some real money, she was 18, I just turned 60, and we went out on my birthday to P.F. Chang's, and she said, Mom, I made you a birthday present. I'm like, oh, isn't that so? Oh, let me preface this real quick. So I used to look at women's engagement rings, and I love big engagement rings, and I would just kind of always look at them, and again, didn't have one. And one day we're at some event, her and I in Las Vegas, we go into a jewelry store. I said, Mom, pick one out. And I'm like, and I picked out this. She said, the guy, come here, how much is that? I said, it's $26,000. She said, I'll take it. Just not right now. So we're sitting at P.F. Chang's, and she's shaking, and she's like sweaty. And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. She said, I made you something. And she takes out this box, and in it opens up. It's lighted when it opens up. And she did design something. She designed this ring. And she gave this to me as a present with all of her own money. And she's like, Mom, this is something that you've never had that you really deserve. You know, never heard of a kid doing that to her mom, ever. She's a very special, giving young lady who really just wants to make her mom's dreams come true. So for all the crazy stuff that I did, whatever my parents did, whatever I'm supposed to mean to people in the world, she's going to help make sure that it happens.
That's awesome. And I have a number of other things that I want to say, but I think
I know, it's like it's almost breakfast. We started the dinner.
Almost breakfast, but
Thank you.
yeah. So we were talking about Women of Impact and Innovation International. What I was going to talk about was the Excellence. How I really just appreciated how you all were on there, and how every time it's just this exchange, motherhood, daughterhood with you all, and that's where I met someone that are in the audience today. Was on the Excellies. I was able to be one of the hosts, of which I need to be an honorary host every time you have an Excellies. It was so much.
I know, you got raves. So the Excellies, just to give you some context, is when COVID hit. I thought, we have students. Let's honor them. Let's do an award show. You got the Tonys, the Grammys. If we want to award excellence in entrepreneurs, let's call it the Excellies. And I own a television studio. I'm married to a guy who knows how to operate cameras. And so on a very small budget, it was me, McKenna, and Joshua, and one student, because it was COVID, we put on an award show that when you look at it, looks a lot like the Oscars. We had the background. We did skits. We at one point, it's one of my favorite skits, and it's on the internet. My daughter put on a wig that looks like my hair. I put on her, and we changed places. And she comes out with this beautiful little 20-year-old face going and doing Forbes Riley.
Hilarious.
Oh my God, it's hysterical. And then we honored our students, and we gave out awards, and it was precious. And we've done it twice. It's a lot of work, but I feel great. And thank you for participating. We did red carpets.
Yeah,
it was good.
great. It was great. So I just wanted to wrap up related to the Women of Impact and Innovation International. We do have that conference is the next 3 days. And so what is it that I power it off and then it just keeps coming back.
That's my mother. I'm watching you.
One more beat.
Well, because think about it. If somebody could come through, how would they do it?
Yeah. It's been powered off 3 times and it just keeps coming back on. So I digress. So over the next 3 days, what's one of the main things that you want to impart on the women? We're allowing men to be here tonight in the studio audience, but the next 3 days are specifically for the women, including some that are here are going to be our keynote speakers and panelists, do some breakouts and some other things since he has powered it off.
I think just being around you, I live in Florida, we don't get to see each other very often. Because when you first invited me, I thought it was just coming to a birthday party. I didn't realize I'd forgotten about WII and doing all of this. But you have a great sense about you, about the people you attract, about what you stand for. As a woman, you are quite the role model. You do a lot of things. And then you're also designing clothes and looking beautiful and a mom and all of the things that I don't have a lot of people in my life that are role models. It's funny because we talk about who's the most successful women in the world. A couple of them don't have children. And I'm going to say nothing against that choice. But when you don't have children, see, children take a good portion of this little brain you've got, because I'm always thinking about their safety and what they're doing. And when you don't have it, Oprah, for example, doesn't have children. I don't care how much you love your dogs. So you have a little bit more time to devote to yourself and to your work. Ellen DeGeneres doesn't have children. And I know that's not an observation. Again, that's part of my disruptiveness, just to take a look and see how you get to a certain level. It's funny, my daughter called me today and she asked me, she said, Mom, what was the best part of being pregnant? I'm like, why are you asking me that? So it's an online thing about mothers and daughters. And I said, it's a funny thing about you and I, McKenna, because there's not a lot of mother-daughter teams. And then we kind of looked at like Goldie Hawn and her daughter, and Kate Hudson, and Cindy Crawford and her daughter. But none of them are the CEO of a company like you, McKenna, just so you know.
Right.
You're a bit of an anomaly, and I think a bit of a role model. And we've got 42 years between us. It's not like we're the same age. By all means, if COVID hadn't happened, she would have gone off in high school, and I don't think I would have seen her. She would have done her own thing. So I'm really blessed that we together, I think, represent something. I can't wait to see your daughter.
Yeah, they both will be there this weekend for the party. And for those who don't know, I think everybody might know, I'll be turning 60 this weekend. So there's a big, huge party every 10 years.
And looking good. Hey, by the way, I do have a free gift for you guys. If you go to www, free gift from Forbes, one of the things that I love teaching, and this is going to happen all week, and I'm probably going to delve into this, is how you introduce yourself. How do you network with people? How do you say, hi, my name is, and I'm known as. So I'm Forbes Riley, and I'm known as the Queen of Pitch. Why? Because I've sold $2.5 billion worth of products. What I'm up to now is teaching people just like you how to communicate better. Want to know more? And how to literally, because one of my pet peeves is when people network and they meet with each other and they say stupid shit. Hi, what do you do? Oh my God, I do so many things. Oh my God, can you help me understand, who are you? Well, the other day I was at an event, it was like, I said, what do you do? He's like, I slay dragons. I'm like, are you in the Game of Thrones? He's like, no, I'm a digital marketer. I'm like, well, then why did you say that? What does dragons have to do with marketing? I'm confused. Why do you want to confuse people when you just meet them? So I'm sure I'm going to be teaching a lot. I tend to hold court a lot. I love doing that, and I haven't done it for a
At the
while.
Airbnb, we will be, and she's staying at the Airbnb. So those who are at the hotel, just plan on having to just drive your 5 to 7 minutes home like late at night, because you see what's happening here already, right?
Yeah, we'll be playing games. I love putting people on the spot. I love hearing.
And you do the magician thing too.
I was just thinking, I brought my cards with me.
She brought her cards.
Yeah, because it's too much fun. You know, it's one of the things that makes me
it's
really
so
unique.
hilarious.
And I learned, okay, so if you think about what do you want people to say to you or about you? Do you know when people meet you, what do you want them to say about you?
That she cares.
Okay, see, I love that. So that means that everything that you do, you permeate with that undertone. Mine, it's going to sound weird, I want to be told that I'm amazing. I know it sounds crazy, but I play a game called What Do You Want? And one day when we were doing this, I said, you know, it's funny because I grew up hearing that word. When you do a magic trick, oh, that's so amazing. When I would do my fitness product and you touch it because it spins, it's, oh, that's amazing. And so what would it mean to be if I was the one who was amazing? And as soon as I declared that to the universe, do you know that when people introduce me on stage, they literally, I don't tell them because it's kind of braggadocious. Hey, everybody's the amazing Forbes Riley. And I thought, I wanted that. I wanted to hear that because it was such an extraordinary thing. And so I've created that. So just having conversations, and believe it or not, I will let other people talk.
Well, that was witnessed too at the restaurant. Like you were just really caring and having where you were pouring into the young lady that was there sitting with us, without her maybe even knowing it, just by really truly asking her sincerely various questions about herself and her life, and listening to the answers, not just on your phone while she was talking and listening, like looking in her eyes. Well, she wasn't looking eye to eye to you, but you were looking at her while she was speaking. And I thought that was just so amazing. But no, I thought it was just so sincere and really important, specifically for that young lady. That meant a lot to her.
I know that.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that you want to do in life is you want to figure out what you want. And if I challenged any one of you to ask what you want, I don't think that you know, if that makes sense, because no one's pushed you lately to go, what do I want? And I ask myself this question every day, and what is it that I want now? Because without that that knowledge, you don't take very good actions. So when I meet with somebody, I want to disrupt their energy. I want to have a young man over here so glued that he's not on his computer, that he's going, oh my God, I've never heard a woman talk like her. I want to do that. And I knew that he was there. I want to see this beautiful couple over here. I know, don't tell your wife you're with her. But to just kind of go home going, you know, the thing that she said, now let's talk about that. So we don't listen to each other very much. We are very self-involved. And I will tell you that life is much more fun when you do care. And the fact that you said that means a lot, because I feel that. I feel that in everything that you do, in your correspondence, in the way that you love on people. Just kind of the way you picked me up at the airport, there's a level of caring. That's a really powerful thing. So if I asked you all, what is your word? What do you want? Think about it. Put it top of mind, because the least thing that I want to hear is, I don't know. I'm not interested in that.
Well, we really appreciate you being here. We're going to play a commercial and bring up several people that wanted to be a part of Women of Impact Speaks League, and they only have 7 minutes per person. But you are a special honored guest, and I just really appreciate you being here. And so when I say this, Forbes, there's no discussion There's only where you're going to only be able to say one word to end our time together right now. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Gratitude. I'm grateful for you.
See how you just.
There's no way I'm gonna end with a word. It's like, trick question! Really? She thought she was gonna get away with that. Silly girl. What's your one word?
It's actually gratitude. That's how I sign my
Seriously?
a lot of my emails.
Did I just steal your word?
Lady
I stole
gratitude.
the word.
Lady gratitude.
Oh, there you go.
Lady gratitude. And part of that, you talked about David Meltzer. I was like, you and I are both competitive, okay? And so when he said that you can get a free XYZ with me if you do your gratitude journal and really like do these gratitude exercises every morning and every evening for 30 days, you can get XYZ.
You did it
And
all.
so I wanted that
Of course you
XYZ.
did.
And I thought I already was a grateful person, and I had already done some things like that, but not in the way that he explained to do it.
Mhm.
And so he really changed my life.
Oh, well, he's in town.
He
I'd
really
love to
changed
hear
my
that.
life.
He's a pretty powerful guy.
He can put on a wig and come to the women's conference.
Yeah, you know, again, it's funny because I went over, he's in town with a tour, and when I walked in, he had a whole crowd of people around him. He was doing kind of a lunch on stage question thing. And as soon as I walked in, he couldn't wait to honor me. He's like, everybody, the Queen of Pitch is here. And I was like, you know, that's what I wanted. I
Yeah.
wanted to I want to be able to, and by the way, if you want to be recognized, you want to make an impact, you have to work really hard. Because the first thing that I ever really wanted was I wanted every day for someone to tell me that I inspired them. Do you know how hard you have to work to get someone else to tell you that you inspired them? I now get that all the time. And I will tell you, short of anything else that you can get, from food to money to anything else you can give me, that thank you means everything. That's what evokes gratitude in me. So thank you.
So everyone, nope, don't clap yet.
No clap. It's okay. I like it.
Don't clap yet. Everybody say Forbes.
Forbes!
Okay, wait. Everybody say Forbes.
Forbes!
You inspire me.
You inspire
Say
me.
Forbes.
Forbes!
Point at her and say thank you.
Thank
you.
Say Forbes.
Forbes!
We are grateful for you.
We are grateful for you.
Let's give her a hand. Oh my God. Just come on in.
So
Hey, everybody. This is going to be our group picture. I'm going to raise the camera a little bit. This is a little bit unconventional for something like this, but it's okay. Go ahead. Let's see.
there you go. All right,
Our
well,
cameraman, are you going to be able to take a picture? Let's see.
All right,
Now
so
that
you know
it's
what we can have though. Come here, come sit in the
Yeah,
middle.
everybody just come
You guys
in.
both come over here.
This will be great.
Come here, come down the middle. Come here, come over here. Yeah, you come sit on the edge.
Come on
Scoot
in. Who's on the edge?
Lean your
Are
face
you-
in.
Are you in the picture? Oh, you're in the picture. So it's over there. They're not.
How did you come
Come
up
over
there?
here. Come over here. You're not in the picture.
Yep, squeeze in.
Yeah, this is the
So
edge of
she's
it right
in.
here.
You're in, Patricia, you're in, but the rest need to come, all three of you come over here.
Squeeze each other. I mean, squeeze in.
Come on, come down here.
I'll just, okay.
Come down here. Come on, come
Room
on.
over there.
Tuck in, see your face.
That's
There
good,
you go.
that's
There you
good.
go. All right, there you go. Squeeze a little more.
Okay.
There you go.
Here you go.
You have a pretty bright face in there.
And we are doing this
I'm
live.
reflecting
We
light.
actually are doing this
Mhm.
live, guys. Oh, wait, so who's over behind? Let's do this. So she's right there. There we go. Is that better?
Nailed it.
Oh, we look so good. All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1. And 3, 2, 1. Just want to make sure.
All right, the
Wait.
silly one.
Move to the side.
Me, this
Nope,
one.
him behind you. Yep, him. Yep.
Yes, this is on live TV. You are watching us take photos with Forbes Riley. Okay, here's the crazy one. What's the crazy one? What are you gonna do?
Okay.
Got it?
All right.
All right. All right. So the commercial you saw was for Women of Impact and Innovation International. We'll just have Miss Angel come and sit down, and next we will have Sandy.
Forbes.
And
You're welcome.
ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Angel. Let's give a round of applause for Angel. Right here, right here, right here. All right, okay. And so go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, I'm Angel Marie Monticelli, and I'm known as the spiritual sage and the energizer. And the reason I'm known for that is because I am a powerful, loving, intuitive.
Excellent. And so you are that, but you're much more than that to me. I mean, like we've done a number of things. I don't even, how many years has it been?
8 or 9 years.
8 or 9 years
Yes.
that we've been connected.
Yes.
And you were actually like a client of mine. And then we did some things together where I went and supported you on various, what was it? Not assignments, but with your clients, I guess at schools and other organizations like behind the scenes to help and whatnot. So you are not just the energizer. You had some really good ooze there, Sandy. So you're not just the energizer, you're also a person who helps teach people how to shine.
Yes.
And there's various ways that we're able to do that. So just tell a little bit about what you do for people and what you've done for some of my students, the Echelon Leadership Institute.
I am blessed because I'm able to help people, and I'm a certified spiritual counselor, but what I really help you do is to connect to your energy field, your vibration. And, Forbes talked about that a little bit earlier, about energy and how you really shine your light, and we can feel that. And that's the same way that I am when I show up. It is in a place where people can go, wow, wait, I want to feel more of that productivity. I want to feel that confidence. I want to feel that energy. And that's what I do, is I help people to step into their real, who they are. Not just their authenticity, but the uniqueness of who you really are. And you helped me with that years ago when I used to come here at 4:30 in the morning to meet with you. And you were helping me to be who I am, but really to step in and say, stop hiding, Angel. And that's what you gave me.
Right.
And that's what this gives too. It helps women. So that's what I can do, is help with not only seeing your light in a different perspective, but seeing everything in energy and how vibration and how what's happening and how you attract. Just like Forbes kept talking about the dates. These are vibrational fields. And you look at your life and you can put it together and you can have more. You can have so much more, and you're limitless in how you can manifest.
Yeah, and one of the things that we do that you did so perfectly at 4:30 in the morning is it's called a spider diagram. It wasn't that you knew that was what it was, but all the different things that you do and all the things that you wanted to do, and then how does that really define where you're supposed to be focusing right now? And when you had the epiphanies in here, I think by that time it was 5, 6 in the morning, we'd just go busting out the door, woohoo, and screaming and yelling. That's when the hotel was open and we were looking out their window. I'm doing laps and high-fiving all the air and whatnot, because I just really wanted to celebrate that moment with you, because you had that breakthrough and it was just amazing to see. And now you've gone on to touch so many more lives. and beyond your book. And I want to talk about that one book, the Shine book, where you open up and you can find one word that speaks to you and then live the rest of your day around that word, or however it is that you want to use that. And so you did that with my students, junior high, high school, and college students, when you came and helped to teach them. And they really, really gravitated to that and really took it to heart. And so people do that all over the world with what you're doing, because you're expanding now way beyond where we were those years ago. And I want to mention something about the 430, because you have to want something enough to do whatever it takes to get what you want. I told her I don't do clients. I don't have time. I had a number of things that I was doing, and because I'm all over the world doing what I do. And you said, well, okay, you don't have time, but what would be a time that I would be able to meet with you? And I'm like, 4:30 in the morning. And guess what? She said, okay. And she came and she was here, and you did the work. You did the work with your scarf and your hat and your gloves on, because I like it cold and you like it hot.
It's freezing in here.
So she would come in like, okay, I'm ready for my session.
Yes. And then I'd run outside in 110
Yeah.
degrees and go,
Yeah.
yes.
So what would be one thing that you would want to leave with our audience today, just to help them to understand their shine?
There's so many. You can have it all. Step back and take a look at your life. Take that time to look and know that you, vibrationally, you are hitting all the world. Your humanity, you connect to all of the world around you. Know that you matter. But it's more than that. You can have the very best. You can have the very best and feel that from within, and keep looking from within, and look for those coaches, look for those people that you gravitate, that inspire you, because it'll help.
Yeah, there's people that call me Sergeant K, and I am the principal of several institutes, but they call me all different kinds of things, of which I've never been in the armed forces, but they know if they come to me, there's going to be work.
And you're going to know it.
Right.
And you're going to know what to do. And that's the biggest thing about you that I love, and that you should too, is get your boundaries down. Have those down, because you know this is what we're doing. If you don't want to play, that's okay. It's no big deal. It's just energy. Go on.
Yeah.
But if you want to play, you're going to learn. You're going to, oh my gosh. If you could get that red jacket over there, that red thing over there, please grab that for me, please.
So you are on the health and wellness team for the summit.
Yes.
So do you want to just give like a brief snippet related to that?
Well, this is going to be beautiful, because we're going to get to set the tone for the day and set of how to move your body. And remember, movement is what? Movement is energy, and energy is about your emotions. So we want to get you in this place that helps you to set the tone for the whole entire, and I get to set the tone and start the day. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to get you to move, because movement is, the lubricant is the movement, right? So it's going to really help everybody to set the tone. And it doesn't have to be, I'm talking really fast. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be very natural. And I really appreciate and thank you for wanting me to set the tone for the whole day.
The cross section of the types of personalities and intellect of the health and wellness team, and the humor of the health and wellness team is amazing. I just love you being a part of that, and everyone is going to be in for a treat this weekend, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Is there something that you wanted to show us?
Yes, I just
before we
wanted to
go our
show
next-
the Shine On book.
Yes.
Because the reason I'm showing this to you, and I put it over my heart and give it to you, is because Forbes Riley, that's from her. Would you like to read what Forbes has to say about that?
Great nuggets of truth for anyone looking to enhance self-esteem and personal success. I love how her stories help clarify the simple action steps.
Thank you, Forbes, for all these years, 8 years that I've known her. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give a hand.
Because I watch her. I'm not in her programs, no, but I know. I know. I'm not, but yet I watch everything, and it's inspiring, just like with what you're doing. find those places. And I just wanted to show that because I'm proud of that. And it's not that she's a celebrity, but she is. She's
She
awesome.
is a celebrity.
Oh, I mean, she is.
What do you mean, not that she's a celebrity?
No, because she took time with me. I met her and she took time with me because I loved her shoes. I'll never forget that. She had like the coolest shoes on this event. But she looked at me and she spent time with me. And then she said, that's okay.
That's
Beautiful.
awesome.
I'm very
That's
glad. So the health and wellness, go back to that. And this weekend, very excited to help set the tone, be there to move the energy. And that's really what I do as a spiritual sage is I help people individually and also groups. And I can't wait to learn from all these people that I'm getting to meet to really inspire and to help women.
And this is just the pre-day. This is not even, the summit hasn't even started. It starts tomorrow evening for the meet and greet. And so this was just a little nice tidbit and surprise for everyone that we were able to meet with Forbes. So thank you for being on. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
And next we have our last guest of the evening. And she is in all of the classes and masterminds and everything with Forbes Riley. And we met, you weren't even on my red carpet, were you?
No.
You weren't even on my red carpet.
No,
Okay.
you were amazing. It's like, I wish I was on your red carpet. I love my host, but you were amazing. I
But
just,
we're here to talk about you. We can talk about that in just a So introduce yourself to everyone.
all right. Hi, I'm Sandy Austin, and I'm known as the Kids Empowerment Champion because as a counselor who counseled students in 4 school shooting tragedies and then 4 suicides at my own school, I'm out to stop bullying in schools because I am seeing that there are kids that are struggling out there. And so what I'm up to now is I started a school club called the Bionic Team, which stands for Believe It or Not, I Care, to empower kids to reach out to their hurting peers to stop the bullying and suicides in schools.
Let's give a hand for that. That's so amazing. And being someone who was bullied in elementary, junior high, high school, and even as an adult, I allowed it, to go on with certain personality types. That's something that's just really, really always been an area where I am honored to know you. And not just because you started a club, but because of who you are on the inside. You are a part of our Bible study group, our women's Bible study on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. PST until the time change. And it's called The Canvas and the Clay. And I tell you, Sandy is a firecracker. Like she's sitting here right now, but I don't know how, because she's just like, oh, like on the screen, she's just all moving all around. Like, it's like, Sandy, like, where are you going? What you doing? Because when someone is speaking, and the truth is coming out and God is just moving on the Bible study, she is just so animated about everything that she's hearing that it's just amazing just to watch you just be filled, to watch you be filled. But we're also a part of something, Forbes, you and myself, of you as the organizer, related to
Yes.
something that you would like to say.
Oh, thank you. Yes, of course. On Tuesday, September 10th, from 9 to 5 Mountain Standard Time, we are hosting the Caring Culture Summit. And I am so honored that you guys are coming to speak. I can't wait for our students to hear you guys and to see your hearts. And I've been so moved with you guys, and you've just ministered to me. You have helped heal a lot of places in my heart. And so anyway, for the Caring Culture Summit on Tuesday, September 10th, what we're doing is we're bringing in speakers to talk to these kids and to talk. And what I'm excited about is I'm going to have alumni there. Some of my alumni are 40 years old, but from Bionic, and they're going to talk about their experience with Bionic and how they're continuing to make a difference. We're going to have students speaking about what they're doing in their schools. But what I love is with you guys, such influencers talking and the tough things that you guys have gone through. I want our kids to know, if you're being bullied right now, whatever's going on, if you had loss of a loved parent or something like that, that they'll hear your stories and they'll go, there is hope. Okay, when I'm their age, I can be a success. This doesn't have to stop me. This doesn't have to be the end. But, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to take my life. I'm not going to lose hope, but I want to keep going. And so that's what I'm so excited with you guys. I want my world all the kids in my world across the world to hear you guys and to say, wow, there is something beyond now. Okay, so let me think. And because I had some speakers when I was in high school that just made me think, okay, I can keep going. And so that's what can't wait for all of our people and the parents to hear you guys and the school staff that are so overwhelmed right now, but they'll say, wow, okay, you guys are going to give a shot in the arm to all those guys to encourage them. So thank you.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's a number of people that I know that have committed suicide, and some of them have been youth. The one, he was a star athlete, A student. One is the son and the husband of one of our friends that has a suicide prevention program, and then there's others that have as well.
Yes.
And we started don'tcommitsuicide.com was one of the things that we've done, because a lot of people do just give up.
They do.
And so anything that we can do to encourage people to just live another day,
Yes.
and not necessarily use the word try, but live another day. But what does life mean to people? And sometimes they don't have a definition of what life even means. And so to be able to have this event and to be able to just pour into these students and to adults, because we don't know who's going to be watching, that's going to need this.
Right.
It's something that I'm just honored to be a part of. And I love the name, Believe It or Not, I Care. And it's I just love it. I love words, and I love just, acronyms and all of that. I love that. Believe it or not, I care. And so tell us about what you're going to be doing at the summit.
So I'm
the
hosting.
Women's Summit.
So I am not a morning person. Well, I wasn't. I am a morning person now. You're helping me. But anyway, 6:00 in the morning on Saturday, we are having our mountainside prayer and Bible study. And I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be talking about, there are 3 incredible women they're going to be sharing.
Yes.
And I'm going to be sharing about Esther and how God is raising you up for such a time as this. No matter who you are, men and women, whoever's watching this, that this world needs you guys. This world needs your story. You guys and your stories that have shared. People are hurting. Someone out there needs to hear your story. And that's the thing. We have to look beyond and say, okay, all right, God, how can you use me? And he needs us all. You guys, our world is hurting in so many ways right now. And that's where, as I was back in the schools, one of the schools asked me to be a school counselor last year again. I had retired 4 years ago. I went back in, and the stuff that I saw the kids are going through now since COVID, the staff, the parents, oh my gosh, I was shocked. I was shocked to see what was going on. So that's what what I'm going to share is that we need you. We need your story. And God is calling you up, and there's someone out there that needs to hear your story.
And so I'm going to do something I don't normally do, so I'm apologizing ahead of time. I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah. There was the recent school shooting.
Yes.
And that's part of what you are dealing with. Like, they did an interview, and I don't know if anything else came out today, but yesterday they did the interview and still had no motive of why the young man did what he did. And so with the troubled youth that you have worked with in the past, is there anything that you can look in the camera and say to youth to just encourage them today to not just not bully and to stay alive, but to also have where they think enough of themselves not to take another life?
Oh, boy, you guys, if any of you are thinking of something like that, thinking that you're at your wit's end, you're thinking, I'm so tired of that kid that keeps bullying me. You're afraid to go to school because that kid is going to be saying that to you again, spitting in your hair, whatever. You guys, hang in there. Hang in there. I know I was an educator 34 years, a teacher for 10 years, a school counselor for 24 years. Every single kid that I talked to, that not all came to my office, but I searched them out. I would be walking down the hall and I would see a kid and I'd say hi. I kept saying hi to kids all the time, and some would say hi, some wouldn't. And those ones that didn't say hi, I tried to track them down. They didn't know it, but I would be looking for them in the halls and say, hey, how are you doing? Hey, I saw you play basketball the other day or whatever. But the thing is you guys, you are a gift. I know every single kid. I have worked with thousands of kids, and from the kid that has the perfect 4.0 GPA, for the kid that, oh my gosh, one of the girls that I counseled last year, her dad had been abusing her. And what happened is one day he was hitting her in the car. So she jumped out of the car just to get away from him. What he did is he stopped the car and he backed up to run over her and kill her. He did not. And so I talked to her and I just said, girl, can't say her name, girl, there, and she's trans. And so I kept saying girl, and I said, I'm sorry, but it's like, there is a reason that you are here. There is a reason that you are in my office right now. I'm glad he did not kill you, because there are kids out there. She was brilliant. The makeup and everything, she was brilliant, and she was such an incredible artist. And I said, this world needs her. I said, you've encouraged me. I said, you've encouraged me by coming back. I said, why did you come here today? Your dad just tried to kill you yesterday. You're here. I said, what are you doing? I said, why are you here? I said, I need to hear you. I said, I need it. I said, I went through a tough thing yesterday. And I said, just seeing your resilience, I said, you're encouraging me to keep going. It's like, hello, I have nothing that I'm going through like you, but you're here. And I said, there are kids out there. There are kids out there at this school that need to know who you are. I want them to talk to you because they need hope. Their dad is beating them too, or their boyfriend or their girlfriend or whoever. There are people that are being mean to them. And now that I know what you're going through, I want those kids to meet you. I said, can I pull some of these kids in sometime? And I said, you don't have to tell me your whole story, but I said, can you help them? I said, there are kids out there. I said, there's a reason why you were not killed yesterday.
Wow.
And I said, because I know 2 kids specifically right now that need to talk to you today. I said, can you help? Can you help? And they're just doing really well now, and they're reaching out. We started a bionic team at the school, and they are one of the leaders, and it's powerful.
That's excellent. That's
But
excellent.
we need you.
Let's give her a hand. So we don't have to yell this time. I just want everyone just to say, you are a gift. Look at someone else that's in the studio audience, and I'm going to look at Sandy. Sandy, look at me. You are a gift. You are a gift. And that's what you said when you looked into the camera. So I really appreciate that, because someone is going to see and hear that they are a gift.
You're a gift.
Thank you.
Amen.
Well, that concludes our broadcast for today with the Dr. Forbes Riley. And let's give her another. And our 1-hour broadcast turned into 4.5 hours with the Dr. Forbes Riley.
That always happens.
And then we had the short meeting of Angel and the Shine On movement, and also Sandy here with Believe It or Not, I Care. I just love that. Did I mention that I love that?
Yes.
I love that. So from me, Dr. Crystal Richardson, and Life Innovation Global TV, we are here on The World Speaks. This particular segment is Women of Impact Speaks. Nothing against the men. You can be on the next segment, on the next show. But I really appreciate you all being on. Brian Smith came here a number of months ago with our cameraman, Josh. Let's give him a hand. Yeah. Forbes mentioned the person who is the inventor of Uggs boots. And so he came and did his 8-part series on Out of the Mouth of Legends. And so there are portions of this with Dr. Forbes that I'm going to have on Out of the Mouth of Legends. We've talked to Sharon Lecter and Jeff Hoffman and some other folks that are going to come in and do their series. And so keeping my fingers crossed as to when we can have them on. But I can't wait to start with Brian and just give some nuggets, some of what you've heard maybe from him, but some that you may not have. And he is the founder. And it's, it's like $1 billion brand now too, the Uggs Boots brand. So we have a lot of different things going on here on Life Innovation Global TV, and we want you to be a part of it. But this weekend, we are going to be celebrating with Women of Impact in Innovation. This is our 3rd year, and this is the Love. It actually starts with LEAD. So let me start over. LEAD, Lift, and Love Summit. And there's a number of women who have come from all over the country, including some that have tuned in with us from around the world to be a part of what we're doing. And so we can't wait to share wealth and investments, business and leadership, publishing and marketing, the area here, related to the spiritual aspect. Angel is involved in wealth and investments. It's just going to be not wealth and investments. I just made up one. So it is health and wellness. That's what it is. And I can't wait to just be with all of the women every year. It's just such a magical time, I guess I'll say.
Well, it is a magical time because it's your birthday, so we're all going to sing to you.
Yes.
I didn't even bring a cake. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Crystal. Happy birthday to you.
You are amazing.
Thank you.
You are.
Thank you so much. That concludes our broadcast. We're going to end with the same commercial because we are Queen Sisters and we're going to have an amazing time at the Women of Impact and Innovation International Summit. And until next time, God bless everyone, and let's keep rising together.